What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the SuperScope podcast, your weekly wrap-up in gaming news and reviews. We are back for, I'm pretty sure, episode 20 this week, Sunday, January
Yeah.
30th of 2022. I'm your host, Retro Game Dude, and of course, joining me as always is my co-host, Daisuke Aurora. I said it right this week. Feel free to join
Hey,
the discussion live on Twitch or Discord. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, tap that like button to subscribe so you don't miss what we're talking about, and feel free to throw in the comments if we've missed anything. You can also see the or listen to the audio version on Stitcher, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. More of those coming soon. Daisuke, how the hell are you this week?
I'm doing good, staying busy.
looks like yeah, as Musha said, like the oxygen must be off the charts in that biodome you're in.
Yeah. So for context, my background this week, if people haven't seen this before, it's an airport in Singapore called Changi Airport, and it's one of like the biggest amusement parks in the world. Like not amusement parks, airports in the world with like
Mhm.
a bunch of amusement park style things in it, rides, gift shops, a lot of merch. It's a crazy place apparently. I've never been to Singapore.
Sure.
Um, but apparently I might fly there and then not leave the airport and then fly home because that's just the thing to do.
And it's not to be confused with the rapper Chingy, right?
No, yeah, Chingy. He also probably has an airport, but it's probably
He
not this
might.
entertaining.
All right, so what do we got this week? We had a decent stream last night. It was pretty good. We had a good time playing a lot of Quiplash on Jackbox last night. And then we had a pretty good community night last week, or last Monday, I guess you should say. We should say. Of course, we're playing Goose Goose Duck, but unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. Um, it's not like we're ending anything really, but we're gonna be changing the schedule. So come this week, we're not going to be doing a community night tomorrow. If we do anything related to community stuff, it'll be Wednesday. But Jackbox will remain the same. We might actually throw some different games on Jackbox Saturday just to kind of keep things fresh and mixed up. And then with Witch Queen's gearing up, Daisuke disappeared.
Okay.
With Witch Queen gearing up the end of February, we're going to be getting back into some Destiny streaming.
Oh, what do you mean?
Huh?
I was right here. Sorry, there's a really nice shawarma place here at the airport. I figured I'd try it.
I thought your active camo just kicked in.
No, actually, I realized I'm not wearing my necklace, and it's like sacrilege.
Nice. But tomorrow we move on from the old logo as well. We have a new logo coming out that'll all go up either tonight or tomorrow night. And then see like a little bit of a new style on Twitch. I've been dicking around with the green screen. As you can see, my camera's probably like a little weird tonight, just trying to readjust it. I did get the frame rate back to normal, I think. So that's, I guess, positive. But yeah, the green screen thing's not working. I don't know if it's. I think the my webcam itself is just not built for it. Like even if I turn off all the stuff that's supposed to auto adjust, that something's still auto adjusting, and I just can't figure out what's controlling it, and it's throwing the color balance off, and then the green screen doesn't work. So
Oh,
it's a mess.
that's weird.
It's dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a lighting issue or what, but I can't seem to get the green screen to cooperate whatsoever. So we'll keep experimenting with it, and we'll get there soon. So yeah, we'll be playing some new games. So as far as like the moving community night to Wednesdays, we're gonna be more focused on just like playing stuff with mods. Kind of keeping things in house a little bit, tightening things up, and our community focus will just be on Saturdays and such. So look forward to Destiny streams coming back. I'm looking forward to Witch Queen coming out. I'm looking forward to one more step of getting out of Destiny completely. So
Yeah.
yeah, good stuff. But I plan on bringing back another stream. Doing like a mod on Game Boy. I think a Game Boy Color. I have a Game Boy Pocket that needs a screen, and I have the original DMG Game Boy model as well. They're all going to get mods. I do have plans on doing a stream for those. So if you want to learn how to do backlighting and stuff and modding your old Game Boy Colors and stuff and putting some new life into them, now's the time to tune in. So
That sounds cool.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I have a screen for the Game Boy Color, but it requires trimming. It's like the old style screen. What up, Claire? good to see you. It's the old style screen before they released the the new screen that just basically just drops it and solders in. So I'd like to get that one
Yeah.
off my shelf. And we'll see. What else do we have here? Games we're playing this week. Have you played anything new?
I played Final Fantasy 14. Have you heard of it? It's critically acclaimed.
I have heard of it. I've heard that
Oh,
they're letting new people play again. So
yeah, they are.
it's not free demos,
Um,
but you have to buy the game, then they'll let you in. You don't have to use the card though, like for the 30-day whatever. But you have to basically
yeah.
buy your way into the demo, effectively.
Um, they're doing. Let's see. Last week of that, we did. I got my clear of the alpha of the Alex Fidelis First Circle Savage this week. That was the first, so
Very cool.
that's cool. And we're gonna reset on Monday, Tuesday, and try and get everybody through.
Nice. I got to play a weird one. XO1. I fired up my game Xbox Game Pass for the first time in months and decided to try out this XO1 that everyone was talking about.
Hmm.
It's very cool. It's it's really hard to explain. It's
Hmm.
definitely got some sci-fi elements to it. You're basically like a ball, um, but you can kind of manipulate your momentum and physics and stuff to kind of traverse these like humongous natural landscapes of different planets. Um, it's very ominous. Like they'll show like some weird cutscenes while you're playing, of like a space program, stuff speaking in like different language, kind of flashing around you and stuff. It's really cool. Really has a lot of really good just really good ambient effects to it and everything. But I would check that out if you have Game Pass. It's free to play. Why not? But it seems to be getting pretty good reviews. It's kind of a little bit more on the puzzly side, I guess. But yeah, I would definitely give it a try. It definitely has like that sci-fi motif, and it's got some. I don't know. There's definitely it's definitely hinting towards something more serious, kind of going on in the background. Um, and as that story unfolds, I'll see what we can discover. It's gonna be pretty cool. Um,
Hmm.
you played
Well,
anything
sounds
else
cool
new?
though.
Yeah, I would check it out. I mean, if you have Game Pass,
Um,
play dump an hour into it. It's fun.
yeah. No, I have not played anything but Final Fantasy again.
Unbelievable. Last night I got a chance to break. Not was it last night? No, 2 nights ago. Jeez, this weekend's already going too fast. Got to bust out Pokemon Legends Arceus. Of course, that dropped on Friday. So I got that in the mail. Threw it right in.
Mhm.
Did a 2 hour stream, hoping that would be enough to kind of really showcase the gameplay. There's a lot of dialogue in that game. I mean, it was okay. It's getting really good reviews. Um, I'm trying to be as nice as possible. Like it's okay. It certainly is a Pokemon game. I don't know if I've gotten far enough into it to really feel like a good gameplay loop. A lot of so I might keep playing that. I don't know if I'll do a stream on it or not. Um,
Mhm.
but it just seems like really grindy, and I just like I can already see like it being like a huge commitment to do like anything that would be like remotely completionist in the game. Um,
Yeah.
the Pokédex requires like 25 catches up to, and then watch a Pokemon do like a certain move and all kinds of wild stuff. And I said something about it on Twitter about it being like grindy, and they're like, "Have you ever played the original games?" It's like I own every single one. Yes. So, um,
Yeah, there's a difference between like it's one thing to be like, okay, to fill out the Pokedex, you've got to go all the different areas and find one of each Pokemon and catch
mhm.
them, versus to fill out the Pokedex, I've got to find the Pokemon, but on top of finding them, I've got to wait around for some to do certain things or certain behaviors or catch 20 of them. Like that's catching 20 of them in the old Pokemon games would have been 20 slots in your dex filled up. Like
Yeah,
it's definitely not
that's
comparable.
shiny grinding at that point, and like without the reward of the shiny. Um,
Yeah, I like the idea of having like the idea of like maybe like catching a Pokemon and then observing a behavior of it fills out part of it. Like you have like when you catch it, it gives you the stats
right.
and the picture and stuff, and then maybe like there's the two things of info, like the two sentences it gives you could be filled out by like observing a behavior. That's cool, but I don't think it needed to be like a dozen or 2 dozen catches for anything. That sounds wild.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a little much.
It
The
sounds like padding, a reason to keep catching them after you
It's
don't need to catch
100%
them,
padding.
right?
That's exactly what I said it
Yeah.
was. Um, I, I I don't know if you've seen the terrain. It looks rough. I'm not gonna mince words. The world design is pretty brutal. I don't think there's much excuse for it, and I see people defending it, saying that it's you don't need good graphics for a game to be good. I agree with that. But at the same time, when you have a game like Nintendo, who's already done games like Breath of the Wild, that was a port um,
Yeah.
from the Wii U, which was half as powerful as the Switch, look 10 times better than this game that just came out, and this is a 4-year-old game. Um, I find it like really unexcusable. It just looks lazy. Like you can see like the grass, like they just kind of like brushed it in, and it's like all uniform. It doesn't look like it's randomized, so it doesn't blend very well. The texture mapping is very repetitive.
Yeah.
It looks like a very empty world, to be
You know, I
honest.
didn't think about until you mentioned it. I just thought about it just now. I was like, don't we have? I feel like I've watched people play Monster Hunter Rise on the Switch, and even that game's landscape looks pretty good.
Oh,
Which
100%.
I would think Rise is a comparable thing because like this game and Pokemon Rise both do that. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
spending a lot of your time in the wild. Why wouldn't you make that look decent? Like,
100%. And like even Moose said in the chat, it looks like a DS game on my TV. I totally get it.
yeah.
It's I think Game Freak has ridden on the 2D game styles for so long. They're just not experienced enough at this point to really get into the 3D overworld stuff, especially sandboxy games. This is a pretty ambitious task to take on scale wise for someone like Creatures and Game Freak, and I just I don't know. I'm just at a loss. It's like people say, like you don't need good graphics, sure. But there is a difference between a stylized choice and lazy development. And I think what we're seeing
Hmm.
here, the stylized choice that they have in the game is fantastic. I won't take that away from them, but
Sure.
the the visibly lazy, I don't even want to say lazy or inexperienced development of this overworld. It's just it looks empty. There's just the terrain looks like something I would have done in 3D Max in like 2002, um, or
Right.
insert your favorite modeling software. I don't know, but I don't know. It looks like it was a random terrain random terrain generated game, and they just splashed in whatever. What the trees look like shit. The lighting's awful underneath the trees. It's like the contrast is way off of the lighting of the rest of the world. It doesn't match. Um, and we saw these problems with Sword and Shield, where like they had problems with like the trees and the ambiance of the overworld. That was the biggest complaint with that game. Um, and they just didn't. They just I guess they didn't take it to heart, didn't learn from it, or I don't know. Um,
Hmm.
but it really makes me question. I think Game Freak's capability to do larger sandbox games, and it's just something that would take
Yeah.
time for them to gain. I mean, we've seen what Nintendo can do with an awesome overworld. I'm going to keep saying Breath of the Wild because it's a phenomenal um, example of what can be done on the Switch. So that's
And
kind of
not
where I
just
am with
like
it.
like dude, like we could sit here all day, and if you think about it, like Breath of the Wild, a lot of people are doing like yeah, Breath of the Wild, Breath of the Wild, but like Monster Hunter Rise, Xenoblade Chronicles from the Wii U as well.
Hmm.
Um, even stuff like Mario Odyssey, like the Mario Odyssey had that one place that was like a jungly place at first, the gardens, Spring Gardens or Sunshine Gardens, whatever it's called.
Hmm.
Steam Gardens, yeah, Steam Gardens was better looking than this, and that was a Mario game from like the Switch launch almost, or like the
Yeah,
first year of it or something. Like, and I don't think that the Pokemon Company is any shorter on money than, say, the Xenoblade Chronicles team or the Monster Hunter Rise team. Like, I'm pretty sure they make enough money to justify this kind of expenditure over a company like Monster Hunter Rise
sure.
or Xenoblade or somebody.
And Game Freaks in the past has been accused of like just they know they can slap Pokemon on a box and it's going to sell well. And
Yeah.
I mean, this it's indefensible at this point, I guess. Um, I am going to give it my fair shake. I am going to go back and play more of it. If the gameplay loop's great, then that's great. But I haven't seen anything that's really captured me. Again, like looking at the Pokedex entries, and that's just a daunting way to like rank up, I guess, because they don't have badges in the game,
Hmm.
obviously, at least that I know of, or gyms. They have
No,
bosses and
I think it's
stuff.
ranks. Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah, um, I went into it apprehensively because we saw screenshots of it on I guess leak before it came out, and we were already like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's
Oh
where
yeah,
we
for
are with it.
sure.
All right, so I guess before we get into our stories and stuff, just a quick update. Social media accounts: Game Dude Retro at Twitter and Instagram, and then Retro Game Dude at TikTok and of course Twitch. Uh, I put a TikTok up the other day. It was fun.
Did you?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was neat. It was like the first one I have done without, I guess, Destiny content or just goofy shit that I post up there. So that's fun. I'll
Hmm.
probably be posting more up there as long as I can find time to do it, I guess.
Yeah.
Keep going, dude. All right, so let's get into. We have a new month coming up, and we obviously have subscriber games, Game Pass, games with gold, PS Plus, Stadia. They're all starting with a new batch of games. I like the video. Then I heard the background audio, loved it more. Nice, yeah. The audio was really tied it together, and I don't think because I put it on Instagram, and I don't think it conveyed because it's like I think a lot of the posts are like default muted, so you could walk by that post and never even know it's hilarious. So, all right, so let's get into it. This month, games with gold, we have Broken Sword 5, A Serpent's Curse, Never Yield, Hydrophobia, and Band of Bugs. Yeah, so we can see that this is not exactly, I would say, Xbox's best lineup of games with gold. Um, it's becoming pretty obvious that their focus isn't with games of gold anymore. So I think they're going to continue providing us with like lackluster lineups like this to pretty much usher people back into Game Pass. They're trying to get their subscribers up for Game Pass so they can justify it with their investors and stuff. So I think from here on out we're going to see lineups similar to this. Very very unimpressive at this point. So yeah, let's move on there. I guess all the
Hang
dates are up
on.
there.
That
What's that?
I'm pretty sure if you had showed me this and said which of these games was fake, I would have just said trick question. None of them are real.
I remember when Hydrophobia
Hydrophobia?
dropped, and that game was a pretty big deal when it came out, but that was like 15
Was
years
it?
ago. Band of Bugs, the Beatles musical game. Oh
Never
no.
yield. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking the actual games. They could be stellar indie games or something for all I know. But like,
Right.
I never heard a peep about any of these.
That's the thing. It's like at least like fish out some like indie games that people want to play, I guess, maybe. Or
Yeah.
stuff that's got like some notoriety. Um I
I
don't know.
mean,
Maybe it's these
personally,
games' big break. Maybe I don't know. I mean, what do you want to I don't know.
I have fond memories of Broken Sword 2, The Sword Returns, but I don't think anybody really played Broken Swords 3, The Empire Strikes Back, and Broken Swords 4,
A
The
New Hope.
Rise of Broken Sword Walker. No, I don't think they did so well. No, no, I don't know. It's just like, bro, he opened up and you're like Broken Sword 5, and I was like, there's
What are they?
5 of
That's what.
these?
Yeah, because I just
Where?
when I
Like,
read
wait,
this, I was
what?
like, oh, just Broken Sword, and then I look at like the actual like title of it, say Broken Sword 5. I'm like, well, where are the other four?
A time honored franchise that's been
Yeah,
running for years.
yeah. So
Oh boy.
that's where we are with that. Now, I will say, up next is Game Pass, and of course, Game Pass likes to announce their games into the month, so we'll probably talk about
Hmm.
more game releases next week, as well as they announced a couple. Excuse me, at least coming out soon. February 3rd, we have Dreamscaper. Besiege on February 10th. If you have not played Besiege, it is absolutely hilarious. Go play it. Um, we have Edge of Eternity. That's coming to console again. That's February 10th as well. And then in Game Pass PC, we are getting Total War Warhammer 3. Warhammer is one of those kind of things where it's kind of like an open license game. So I'm not familiar with that Warhammer game. So buyer beware. You could be getting
Yeah.
you could be getting absolute gold. You could be getting a pile of shit. So yeah,
But
kind of keep an eye
I
out
do
there.
like I like the naming the convention of that, where instead of like they called it total war as opposed to like what, like partial war, half-assed war, like
Complete war.
total war, like like, well, that's kind of what war usually is. Like,
3/4 cup of a war.
yeah, 5/8 war.
All right. Moving on to the Sony lineup, we have the PS Plus games. We have UFC 4, Planet Coaster for the PS5 title, and I think the first time I have ever seen DLC on PS Plus, but Tiny Tina's Dragon Keep, um, Assault on Dragon Keep, the acclaimed Dungeons and Dragons like DLC. That's coming out this month too. So that if you already have Borderlands 2, great. If you haven't, like, I'm assuming at this point, if you've played Borderlands 2 and you're already a fan of it, you probably already have this DLC. But I
Most
guess this
likely.
is meant to ramp up hype for the Tiny Tina game that's coming out soon. Um, but again, a pretty lackluster month, pretty shovelwary at this point, and I think it's just, I don't know, it's kind of a weird take from PS Plus. I don't know because they are discussing talking about their Project Spartan, their competitor to Game Pass. So I don't know if they're trying to
Right.
wind this down to make the Game Pass or their equivalent of Game Pass look more appealing or what. But that's pretty rough. What did we get a couple months ago? We got like a demo of a game. It was like just a part of the. It was like the end game of the campaign. That was like it.
Godfall. It was like a
Godfall.
demo version of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So we got a demo of
It's
the game
weird
one
because
month,
like,
and we got DLC this month. It's just really unimpressive.
well, it's really inconsistent because like last month was stellar. We had a really good indie game in Deep Rock, and we had two like full games like Dirt 5 and
Right.
Persona 5 Strikers, which are like $40 to $60 titles,
Like they just came out
all
swinging for the
wrapped up.
fences. Maybe they should have spread those
Yeah.
titles out a little bit. Um,
Well, yeah, I was gonna say if Dirt was this week and like Tiny Tina's was last week or something,
yeah,
or Planet Coaster was last week, it would have been like okay, a big game and two little games, and then this week would have been like a big game and two little games.
right. Even Moosh said that
This
she's
it
like
feels
a
like January
huge,
was all the money.
yeah, 100%. Moosh even said that she's a huge roller coaster tycoon fan, and Planet Coaster did not impress. So it feels really shovelwary. Again, like EA Sports games, they're that's $5 bin in a month. That's how those games operate. So
Yeah,
I
they
can't
don't
really
last.
say they're impressive. I like even Moosh said with the prices earlier on the Xbox stuff, like they'll list them as like their full MSRP release, and just to kind of inflate their prices. Like these are like you can't tell me that that's like those games like what is it? Broken Sword 5 is going to be actually like a $24.99 title. No one's paying $25 for that.
Yeah.
Hydrophobia, a 15-year-old game, like that's you can go out to if you can find the Xbox 360 titles at GameStop still. You're most likely going to be looking for these at like a local game store. Those are $5 fucking games. I'm sorry,
Oh,
you can't
dude,
convince me that that's worth $39.99 in 2022.
I was dying the other day. We went to Five Below here, and they have like a game section with like controller parts. Like not, they don't have any like actual first party like controllers or like games really,
Mm-hmm.
but they have like a weird rack where it's like it must be stuff that like clearance out of places like GameStops or WalMarts because the only games that are ever on the shelf are like Elder Scrolls Online, which I'm pretty sure is free to play,
Mm-hmm. Of
Destiny 2, which I'm
course,
pretty sure is free to play,
yeah,
and like Skylanders or something weird, like an old Skylanders game, which I imagine they pennied out basically and just got rid of them all.
right,
And they have them all on the shelf for like $5 a copy, and I'm like,
yeah.
what are
You're
you
paying
doing here?
paying
Like, is
five
this just
five
people who
dollars
don't
for an
know any
online
better that
client.
are buying it? Yeah, they're like, are you just catching people who don't know any better? Like, they're like,
one Hundred
oh, my
percent.
grandkid would like this, and they just buy it for $5 and mail it to him, and they're like, thanks, grandma, and they
Like,
throw it in the
oh,
garbage immediately. Like,
always wanted to try out Destiny 2. Person who's unaware that it's like free to play and missing 80% of the content.
yeah, it's
Don't even
wild
get
to
me
me. I was
fucking
like,
started.
okay,
All right.
insane.
Let's move on to Stadia's lineup this month too, or Stadia Pro. If my thing would like to cooperate, that'd be cool. What's going on? It's my computer,
It said no. You were like, let's go to Stadia, and Stadia was like, nah.
right? I am getting all fours. It's just typing auto 4. What is going on here? What's the deal with slideshows?
Hmm?
Well, something's freaking out here. Let me restart my stream deck here.
Yeah, take your time. I had a tag emergency in my daughter's shirt, apparently.
Fair enough. Well, let's talk about Stadia real quick. God damn it. Nothing can ever fucking work right.
I know they had, if I remember correctly, there were several titles in the Stadia they announced,
They
like
do.
close to a dozen.
Both Life is Strange games, the remastered titles are
Yeah,
coming out.
that was
So
a
that'll
big
be pretty
one.
cool. Um, Here we go. So Life is Strange remastered, Life is Strange Before the Storm remastered, Cosmic Star Heroine, Nanotale, Merrick's Market Fogs, and One Hand Clapping, which is a game that you use your voice to control.
Hmm.
So that sounds pretty interesting, at least to check that out. Yeah, I'll probably check a couple of those out since I have Stadia. And if you guys want to try out Stadia, hit me up because I have access for 2 months.
Yeah,
Not
even Life is Strange is a good bargain. Like, it's supposed to be pretty good storytelling games.
right, exactly. So now, as soon as I can get my slideshow up, hey, look at that! I think
Oh,
we're
what did you mention?
back.
There was a game that's free on Epic right now.
There is Damon X Machina.
Daemon X Machina from the
Yes,
Switch,
that is
right?
free. No, it's on the Epic Store, so it's just on Epic, I guess.
Oh, I thought it was a Switch game originally. I could have
It was,
sworn.
yeah. So
Oh,
that
okay,
was
now it's
originally
over.
on the
Okay,
Switch. So that
that's
yeah,
right.
that's coming to that's out on the Epic Store. That is free right now. That's a phenomenal title. That was a big game on the Switch when it released, so definitely go check that out. I think it's free until the 3rd of February. So definitely go
Hmm.
pick that up if you have Epic. I'm not a huge advocate of the Epic Game Store myself, but that's a pretty
Sure.
good game for free. I won't lie, and that still I think runs $50. So
Hmm.
yeah, highly recommend that. All right, so that's all we have for the month as far as the subscriber titles. But next week, of course, we're going to be talking about more Game Pass games as they release them. So that's just
Hmm.
Xbox's thing to just like to announce the games late. So we'll talk about them next week. So it's more content for next week. Yay! So, um, as far as stories this week, we have the Lunar New Year Steam sale. We got some big ass titles on sale this week. So if you missed anything that you didn't get in the winter sale or Christmas sale or whatever sale they've had in the last 4 or 5 months, now's the time to snag them because we got some pretty solid deals over here. We have like No Man's Sky, that's 50% off. Usually we find that at 50% off. Still a pretty solid title though. Uh, Horizon Zero Dawn, that's at 50% off at $24.99 right now. Far Cry 5, 80% off at $11.99. We have
Oh wow.
Deathloop, that's 40% off. I believe that was a Game of the Year contender nominee. And then we have Deep Rock
Hmm.
Galactic. So if you don't have PlayStation, here's a chance to pick it up pretty cheap. It's only $14.99. So definitely check that out. There's a lot of other titles on here that I would definitely look into. So that's just we're just scraping the surface here. There's thousands of titles on sale
Yeah,
right now.
my
Um,
big one on my wish list I had was Sekiro is half off
okay,
right now.
nice.
Outer Worlds is 67% off, so it's $20. That's not
Outer
bad.
Worlds is good. Yeah, that's a good one. I would pick that up at that
Oh,
price.
Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, if you haven't played it yet,
That is on
is
sale
also
too.
$20. Yeah. I think those are the big ones on my list that I saw oh, Bloodstained Curse of the Moon too, but I mean that's a $15 game. Half off still makes it like $7. Like, come on, people, play that game for that price.
Right.
If you like old Castlevanias, it's really cool for that.
What else? Yeah, Edge of Eternity. That's $17.99. That's a pretty decent RPG. The Forest. That's down to $6.99 for $20. Hover is
Hmm.
80% off. That's a very jet set radio style game. If you like big anime titties, Senran Kagura is on sale for $9.99. Um, yeah, there's just a shitload of games here on sale. I
Oh,
might
Loop
actually.
Hero's on there.
What's up?
Loop Hero is $9 right
Oh,
now.
get Loop Hero. Oh my god, yes. Biomutants on sale half off. Oh yeah, there's just Steam always does good,
Um,
man. Steam customers are always eating good on that
what's this
system.
one? Oh, Hades. Hades was Game of the Year like last year, and
Hmm.
right now it's 16 and change.
Oh yeah.
That's a good one. Good stuff. I can't tell you about Final Fantasy prices because I own them all already, so I don't know.
Yeah, well,
Maybe.
you see the price. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely now's a good time to pick that up. Anyone who wants to get into Destiny, I'm sure those packs are probably on sale, so definitely pick those up if you're looking to pick, get all the DLC, just in time for Witch Queen to come out and have that content
Got
be
Mass Effect
removed.
on there.
Mass
Mass Effect
Effect, that's
trilogy
a
looks like
solid
it.
title. I
Yeah.
already picked that up at pretty cheap though. I got to score that, I think half off too. All right, so
Yeah, good stuff.
next big story. If the slideshow wants to cooperate, of course it doesn't. Oh, there we go. A little late. Apple is rumored to be poaching Xbox engineers. It was rumored by Jez Corden with Windows Central that Apple might be poaching engineers. Of course, we're going to report this as a rumor because nothing's really been confirmed. He's quoted saying, I've been hearing for a while that Apple has been poaching Xbox engineers to make its own console. I've heard that for ages, that Apple was exploring
Yeah,
making a game console, and I don't know if it's going to be a VR play or metaverse thing or something like that. I don't know if it'll come to fruition. I don't know they've canceled it already. I don't know if they've canceled it already because Apple explores tons of stuff, just like Google. We've seen them score the around like Google Glass and all kinds of other things. I mean, we've seen how many hundreds of messaging apps that Google's canceled over time.
oh yeah.
Um, so I don't have an amazing source on this. I have no documents. I have no photographs. It's just something I've heard. So yeah, it'd be. I can tell you right now, an Apple game console would be something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll sit that one out. Any thoughts on that one?
I would be big sad because I'm sure that would have Fantasian on it, and it'd be the only place to get it.
I have an iPhone 8 sitting here. I'll send it to you if you want to play Fantasia.
Play Fantasian,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh
Um,
man,
yeah, my wife gave that phone to me, and I was gonna play Fantasia on it. Of course, I'm not going to ever, but we'll get there.
we both know I wouldn't have time to anyway.
No, 100% not.
Fantasian would get behind Octopath Traveler, Bravely Default 2, and like half a dozen other RPG games that I want to play.
Mm-hmm.
Chrono Trigger, like it would all just
Exactly.
kind of, it would just get on my board behind them and be
The
like,
the pile
"Hey man,
continues to pile. All right. So it looks like Respawn announced that they're going to be developing a bunch of new Star Wars IPs. We know that we know them from Titanfall development, Apex Legends, of course Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. That was a pretty big release. Notably because it was an EA title that didn't have a bunch of DLC in it, or a bunch of like microtransactions and stuff. It was nice to
yeah,
see that they proved to themselves that they could sell a game without a bunch of like DLC and add-ons and stuff like that. So
hmm
that'll be pretty cool. The press release released says here game director Stig Asmussen, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and his team at the studio are already working on the next game in the action adventure Star Wars Jedi series, and are joined by two new teams working to deliver additional unique Star Wars gameplay experiences across multiple genres. Leading the development of Respawn's all new Star Wars first person shooter game is Peter Hirschman, game director at Respawn, who has a long and accomplished history with the Star Wars franchise. That's interesting. The third title is a Star Wars strategy game developed through a production collaboration with a newly formed studio Bit Reactor, helmed by games industry veteran Greg Forsch. Man, what's up with these last names? Respawn will continue the new Star Wars strategy game, while Bit Reactor leads on the development of the title. So, pretty cool. We're getting out an FPS Star Wars game. Hopefully, it's maybe a Battlefront that's not terrible. Um,
right.
Star Wars strategy game, that'd be interesting. Who would love like a Final Fantasy Tactics style Star Wars game? I'd be all
Oh
for it.
yeah, I'm here for that. I was just gonna say when you said strategy game, I was like, I
Yeah,
could see
yeah,
that going really well if they, because the IP for Star Wars is really rife to have that kind
a
of game
hundred
if they
percent.
do it right.
They have so much, so many, I would say, like assets, for the lack of better terms, to put so
Right?
many different
Yeah.
characters in like a tactic style or a Fire Emblem style universe. Holy shit, that'd be
Oh yeah,
amazing.
dude. Well, imagine like yeah, it's like imagine a game like Tactics or Fire Emblem style, but like you've got all these different beasts they ride or
Mm-hmm.
use in combat. You've got all these different types of civilizations with their different types of weapons and combat technology and things. You've got characters with jetpacks, characters with the Force. You've got a million different ways you could make a system more fleshed out than any Tactics game has ever
Oh,
had in terms of
100%.
like jobs or whatever with different races and
There's
things.
just so much there.
Um,
You have like a
and yeah,
droid
you could do a
faction, a
really good.
Jedi faction, dark side faction, Sith faction, blah 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 blah. The list
Oh
goes on
yeah,
and
and
on.
not to mention like how many fights have we seen with environmental factors like Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting in like that lava place with lava happening. You could literally make a lot of environmental designs. Like Tactics did this a little bit. They dipped into it where like there was one fight where I remember in Tactics where you could open like the fight objective was to hit two levers
Mm-hmm.
to open the floodgates because
Mm-hmm.
it would flood everything and you would just win the fight when you did that. You could expand on that and make like a whole system of like activating things that cause environmental changes, lava, rock collapses, traps, tricks, doors. Like there's a million things you could do in the context of like of Star Wars, almost like a Shadowrun game, right? With like taking place indoors and in buildings sometimes and stuff. I
100%.
don't know. I think if they sit down and do it well, you could have a phenomenal title in your hands.
Oh, definitely.
Um, and I'm excited because we're getting that seems to be a thing that's just happening lately. Remember, Marvel's doing one for their Dark Suns game,
Hmm.
and it's like a turn-based strategy game where you've got environmental factors to consider while you're playing. Seems really cool. I kind of would like, you know how we had like that thing where like everybody was doing zombies at one point, and then there was that
Yeah.
thing where everybody was doing battle royales at one point. I would very much like the tactics style strategy games to be like the it thing that everybody does.
Oh, 100%.
Because even if we only get a couple of good ones out of it, I'll be happy.
Yeah, that'd be great. Speaking of tactics games, you know what I was thinking of? I don't know if you've ever played this. Luminous Arc, that was on the DS. Do you remember that game?
No, not doesn't
Oh,
ring a bell.
so good, dude. All right, next, your next
Hmm.
next task. I'll put it on your list because
Yeah,
it's so good.
rack it up
Um,
there.
yeah, it was a really good tactics game. Very stylized after Final Fantasy Tactics, but yeah, I would 100% recommend that series. But yeah, let's move
I'm
on.
gonna I'm
Okay,
gonna add a Discord channel tomorrow, and it's gonna be like the list, and
do
then
it,
people can add to
dude.
it, and then I'll just
Oh
run
my
that list on
god,
streams at some point.
that'd be amazing. Just
Oh, I'm
marathon the
here for
games.
it.
Okay, let's move on. Ubisoft, of course, is um, Ubisoft, I guess. I guess their VP was basically made an announcement that players just don't get it, and to
Yeah,
what makes NFTs so beneficial to gaming and all this stuff. It's the classic. um, yeah, it's the classic. Was this Principal Skinner like, oh, that's not
I was
I'm
just
wrong,
gonna
it's all the
say
kids who are wrong or
the
whatever.
Skinner meme.
Yeah, it's just
No,
like
it's the gamers
Jesus.
who are wrong.
Yeah, so yeah,
Insane.
he got, of course, more blowback on that, and they were discussing, I guess, the original blowback when they announced the NFTs. This is what the VP Hward said. I think gamers don't get what a digital secondary market can bring them. We don't, because no one can else explain it. For now, because
Right.
of the current situation, the context of NFTs, gamers really believe it's first destroying the planet, and second, just a tool for speculation. Yeah. Um, but we at Ubisoft are seeing the first see are seeing first is the end game. The end game is about giving players the opportunity to resell their items. Um, Keep in mind, not the games they buy. They can't resell the games they buy with the NFTs.
Right.
Um, Once they're finished with them, or they're finished playing with the game itself, I don't buy it. So it's really for them. It's really beneficial, but they don't get it for now. Also, this is part of the paradigm shift in gaming. Moving from one economic system to another is not easy to handle. There's a lot of habits you need to go against, and a lot of ingrained mindset. What a fucking grift this dude is, man. Holy
Absolutely.
shit! This is like, you could just hear the grift in this dude's speech here. I just, like, all the red flags. Like, this is the same shit we've heard with like Wada Games and all this dumb like speculative bullshit. It's like, oh, we can't think of a specific function for this, but trust us, there's something coming. You just don't get it yet. We're on the inside already.
Yeah, it's
Get the
ridiculous.
fuck out of here. Like, give me a goddamn break. It's the same story over and over and over again.
Well, dude, and you know what's funny is you get these. I've seen, I don't know, 15, 20 tweet long threads from like industry standard developers who have been in the thing for 20 years who explain in detail with a large breakdown exactly why you can't do NFTs in games the way they think that you can or the way that they say that you can.
Right.
And they'll sit there and they'll talk about spec wise why it couldn't happen, what it would do to loading times in games if you're running around with a bunch of people all wielding a dozen individual items at once that all have to be blockchain checked in a room of 20 people. Like it's not feasible, and how all these companies have to work together, and how even if you did accomplish this massive undertaking with all these different underpinnings that have to go correctly, it can all be done without a blockchain if those companies just commit to a single database together or make a universal database or something. Like none of this requires NFT technology at all. It literally could just be done normally.
Right.
And it's wild to watch that whole thing happen. And then meanwhile, some dude will just be like, "But it'll be great though, because it'll work." And you're like, how? And they're like, I don't know, but it will. And then you'll like look at people like this guy who actually lead these teams of these industry standards, and they're like, yeah, we can do it. And then you look at them and be like, well, how are you guys going to do it? And they're like, well, it'll
Exactly.
happen. And it's like, you know what this reminds me of? It's how they developed games like Anthem, where they're just like, or like what is it that had that problem? Or maybe it was Anthem that had
Fallout
that problem, wasn't it?
76, I
Was it
believe.
Anthem BioWare?
Yeah, BioWare. Yeah.
Yeah, remember the BioWare magic, where at the end of like when they were doing Dragon Age into Anthem and then Anthem, they were just like, it'll work. It's BioWare magic. It comes together, and it didn't come
Yeah,
together.
yeah. It's such a gaslight.
It's
This dude.
stupid.
So I guess he was asked about the negative reaction of this, and he said, "Well, it was a reaction we were expecting, of course, because it's a scam, and people's
Hmm.
red flags are going, the people's radar are going to go off and react to this because they've already seen NFT rug pulls. They already know this is a scam. That's it.
Yeah,
We've already been through people not being able to explain what this can provide to gaming. That's it. It's just no
right.
everyone who's on the inside of this, they understand it. They can't explain it, but we're all the ones who don't get it. So, come on. Um, we know it's not an easy concept to grasp. Now it's like ad hominems to you're attacking your own game base. I love that. Dude, it's just such a swans, man. Um, but courts is really just a step that should lead to something bigger, something that will be more easily understood by our players. That's the way we think
Yeah,
about it, and we will keep experimenting. We will we will keep releasing features and services around the first initiative, and we believe that is piece by piece. The puzzle will be revealed. He can't even explain it. It's all a mystery. It's all shrouded.
dude. And if you look into the stats for this, if I remember correctly, if you look into the stats for this specific thing they're talking about with like the one they did for that one game they have,
Mm-hmm.
um, the majority of that, like somewhere above 80%, maybe above 90% of all the purchases for the NFTs was like the same half a dozen or a dozen people buying multiples of them and then just moving them around. And
Mm-hmm.
that was it. It was like this isn't something that a bunch of people hopped on when it came out and they were like, yeah, we're all excited, or even like we're gonna try it. It was literally this is the same thing that happened with like that study where they were like, oh, 1,500 people were asked and half of them want NFTs, and it was like you asked 1,500 people who are pro NFT in your own group
And
of an
only
NFT
half.
group, and only half of
Oh, it's
them
a good
wanted it.
idea.
Like, you can't. And then that dude was like, "Hey, let's do a survey. How many people want NFTs?" And he got like 35,000 votes, and it was a 99% no.
Right.
But now that it's out there running around on the internet, people are citing it like it's a source. And like you saw, I sent you that pie graph that was
They
like,
have a headline. That's all they need.
yeah, it was a
Yeah.
headline and a pie graph, and then like everything else was buried about it. And then it was like, yeah, but if you actually look at that, it's garbage. Like, it's
Yep.
completely unreliable data. That's insane.
Yeah, so he finishes up here. He says, "We will keep releasing features and services around the first initiative, and it is our belief that piece by piece the puzzle will be revealed and understood by our players." Like, why can't you explain it right now? Like, why can't you break this down and explain what this is providing? You can't.
we will
It's
we will
just such
continue
a
to
fucking grift.
we will
Um,
continue to ask you to pre-order, and then eventually the
yeah,
entire
yeah,
product you're actually buying will be revealed. Like,
right.
okay,
We hope they will better understand the value of them. The value, whatever, it doesn't matter at this point.
dude, this is
Um,
this is this would be the equivalent of like Destiny's newest expansion after Witch Queen. Like, what's the next one after Witch Queen? Beyond Light, or not
mhm.
Beyond Light? That was the last one prior. Light something Lightfall, I think. Imagine if Lightfall was
Lightfall,
coming around and they were just like pre-order Lightfall, and they gave us the logo, and people were like trailers, and they're like no trailers, pre-order Lightfall, and we were like content included, and they were like no, just pre-order Lightfall. We'll show you the puzzle will be revealed on launch day, and you're like,
yeah,
okay, great,
it's the
thanks. Like,
it's the old you have to vote for it first to see what's in the law. It's like,
yeah, yeah,
hold up, hold up, my bullshit detector's going off. Um,
right.
yeah, dude, it's such a grip. Did you see was it the Atari VCS, that thing that's flopping from whatever holding company owns Atari now? Um,
No, the last thing I saw for this was that guy who was like a notorious crypto scammer. What turned out to be one of the creators of like a new crypto, and then that crypto rug pulled, and then they were like, oh yeah, it was actually this bad guy who's done this before,
yeah,
and everybody was like, oh okay. Nobody
yeah,
checked on that, I
I
guess.
love it. And yeah, well, I guess this Atari VCS thing, I guess this is fledgling, so they're trying to pump more money into it by offering NFT loot
Mm,
boxes and shit. And it's just like, man, it's funny because what was it, the Amico, whatever that television Amico thing that dude's trying to make
mhm.
again. This is like a holdings company that owns Intellivision's name. This isn't like Intellivision, the company. They're gone, like just like Atari. Atari's gone. It's a dead company.
Mhm.
These are holding companies that own the licensing. Um,
Yeah,
so with the Amico, I guess he needed another like cash infusion over his company, so he started, of course, sending all these like was it like crypto games, like games that are sold on the blockchain, and all this shit. Um, and now Atari's doing the same thing. It's just it's weird to see like these like little goofy set top boxes that are like nostalgia cash grabs, and there's always like a scumbag fucking crypto right behind it to kind of cash grab it out. Gotta
right.
love it. So in
You know
completely
what?
unrelated news, an unofficial Minecraft NFT game disappears with more than $1 million.
That
Um,
rug really tied the room together. Oh no.
yeah, so game. I'm glad that people
That's
enjoy
my
my
favorite
captions.
one I've ever
Nice,
seen so far.
excellent.
Go
Oh man,
on.
gotta love it. So we saw, I guess, an NFT rug pull by a company called Blockverse. That's basically, I guess, from what I can tell, is a Minecraft server community. This is an unofficial Minecraft NFT. So your red flag should already be going off. Unofficial.
Yeah.
Boom. I'm done. I'm out. That's it. Um, and like for the fact that like that wasn't a filter for a lot of people is very frightening. So this company sold, I guess, 10,000 NFTs that went up for sale at 0.05 Ethereum each, which about equivalates to about $124 US. Sold out in 8 minutes, and added up to about $1.2 million. So they just
My
disappeared
God,
overnight.
why?
They disappeared overnight.
Ah,
What a shock! What a shock! Um, So I guess after 3 days of silence, the Blockverse founders resurfaced on Twitter to apologize and explain their actions. They claimed that everything was legitimate and going well, and that after the launch of the NFTs, they returned to work developing and expanding Blockverse. But shortly after the first round of NFTs sold, they began receiving complaints about gas fees, a service charge for generating, buying, and selling NFTs. Um, being too high and inadequate player capacity on the Minecraft servers that they are trying to usher these people into, um, and the lack of unity for the diamond tokens that are generated in game. I guess this is like another layer of crypto, for all I know.
how they
Um,
mine, I guess, quote unquote. Yeah.
yeah, so I
Oh my
guess
God.
yeah, there was a big outpouring. I mean, they were like starting to dox these dudes, and I really don't blame them. They were just people were just coming out of the woodwork with pitchforks, pitchforks and torches, justifiable, 100% justifiable. Um, and I guess the
That's
only reason
insane.
they came out of the woodwork is it looks like they had a bunch of paper trails on Coinbase, which is basically a trading app for crypto. So
Yeah.
because I guess they had this paper trail on these guys, they had to kind of come back, and that's pretty much why they came back. So now they're trying to keep all the money. They're basically saying, oh well, the money's gone and this and that and this and that. So again, I mean, another fine example of the security and efficacy of NFTs. So I don't know
You
what to do
know,
with that. I really don't. I just
you know, it was funny because while you were doing this, I was like, I'm surprised we haven't seen like a Soldier Boy coin yet. The way he
oh
like
my
keeps dipping into the console
god,
market, and then I was like,
don't put it on
don't
me.
tell me. I googled it just to see if he ever did, and sure enough, in May of 2021, he got paid 240,000 to shill some cryptocurrency named like Safe for Mars.
Of course,
And I was like, he
Logan
already did it. He
Paul.
did it almost 8 months ago. Of
Yep,
course, he
Logan
did
Paul
already.
tried to push off that dink doink, and then he got called out for that, and all of a sudden that just
Hmm.
kind of disappeared, and
Well, the best part, he didn't mean to tell people he got paid for it. He just accidentally admitted, like, "Oh yeah, I got paid for that," and then he was like, "Oh, I mean, you should do it though." And it was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, great, cool."
Jesus,
Oh boy.
people aren't going to learn. And that's the thing. It's like people are just desperate for these like quick rich schemes, and Man, I just every day it's like the NFT news has gone from like new NFTs and this and that to every other day's a fucking rug pull now. Um,
Well, you know the
they
most
don't
depressing thing
learn.
I think for me. Well, yeah, that's already its own thing that sucks. But like, I think the most depressing thing is like the timing, right? Because it feels like this all started around the same time as the pandemic,
Hmm.
and it feels like people are in the worst position they've ever been in financially because of like having to work from home or not having being able to work or closures or getting sick or staff layoffs or shutdowns. All these different things that are causing people to not be able to work as much as they would before or have as much financial security. And now, at the bottom of the bottom, people are buying into these things thinking it's like a way out. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's not. People are putting. I keep reading stories about people putting like their mortgages into Bitcoin, putting their child's college money they put aside into like these different currencies. I have like friends in real life who will be like, yeah, I bought a whole bunch of this currency and that'll pay for the kids' college one day. And I'm like, but what if it doesn't? And they're like, well, but why wouldn't it? And then like the crypto crash happened. And I'm like, hey man, did you ever get that whole sorted before the crash? And he's like, nope, I'm just gonna hold it forever now. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
But
it's scary shit,
people are
man.
really putting their livelihood out there. People are really taking a bunch of their money, $20,000 and dumping it into this, and then losing it, and then being like, oh, now I have nothing. And it's like, holy shit, like I don't know, it's insane.
Yeah, it's
It goes back to the we've talked a bajillion times in the podcast about regulation being a good idea for a lot of these things, and I think this is the next step of like maybe we should do something a little bit about this.
yeah. I mean, once you start
But
reaping off of the benefits of people's mortgage payments and their life savings and shit, and it's like,
right,
how
and
much
it's
more of this are we going to tolerate in this free market, whatever you want to call this?
right, and it's one thing when it's like I don't like things like Bitcoin that are speculative because the entire nature of their value is driven by speculation, which sucks. There's nothing actually making it valuable other than people saying it's worth that much. You get people like what was it the other day? Is it Jimmy Fallon or somebody put up like he's like, yeah, I got an NFT, and he had like Gwyneth Paltrow or someone on a show or someone famous, and they were like
Ah,
going
of
over their
course,
NFTs together, and it
the
was
queen
like,
of grifts.
yeah, I was like, oh, of course, okay, great, whatever, cool, you guys have NFTs, and now of course a million people are going to go out and buy them. Next day, today, Justin Bieber went and bought one for like $500,000 because other people were doing it or whatever. And it gives legitimacy to these things. And then when they
Right.
crash or they go under, or it turns out the only value to these things is the liquidity granted from selling it, and that doesn't happen until people want to get out of it. Which getting out of the market is the only thing that makes you money. You shouldn't be in the market. And it's the same problem with like stocks and stuff, but that's a whole other ballgame. But like it almost feels like what's a good way to put this? It feels like a lot of people on average are not smart enough to recognize Ponzi schemes or other schemes of that nature. And that's why we do things like put Ponzi scheme people in prison.
Right.
And I think that we should move towards that very rapidly if possible.
Well, that's why they get
Because
so
it's
many celebrity endorsements for these, because
right.
it's people that and there was even like a study, people who are obsessed with like celebrities tend to have like a lower IQ. There's like an absolute scientific correlation between that. And I
Right.
people prey on that,
I
and they
believe
think
it.
that with if they get a celebrity to endorse these bitcoins or not necessarily bitcoin but like these cryptos, this is just the NFT is just the flavor of the week. um
What's that? You said people who worship celebrities have a lower IQ.
yeah.
Hey, I don't know if I believe that. Hey, Jimmy, look that up for me. Oh, it's true.
Yeah.
Oh, well, do we even know this is really true? Like,
Right. But they
oh
prey
man,
on
I'll
these
jump on that
people
one.
because that celebrity endorsement convinces people that this is just going to bring them closer to that celebrity. I'm part of this club that's celebrity. Here's the thing
Oh
with
yeah,
scams,
absolutely.
specifically Bitcoin. If you're being sold the Bitcoin and you're being convinced that it's going to be the next big thing, you are the product. You are not the
Yeah.
customer. You are
Well,
not
dude, we
part of the
saw
pump and
this
dump schemes that run these NFT scams.
right, but how many times we've seen this before? I mean, look at like before this was a thing, you had like celebrities that would do like glorified TED Talks, but like you had to pay them to come do it, and a bunch of people would have to pay them, and they would come do like a this is how I did it. It's the same as like the get rich, like people write books about like how I made it, and it's like your book about how you made it is like 30 chapters of like keep your head up, keep a journal for success,
Right.
make sure you work out, make sure you drink water, and then like, oh yeah, my dad owned the company, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah,
The,
great. I'm glad you wrote your book on that.
right.
Like,
His money is in selling self help. That's
right.
how he makes his millions. It's not from, oh, you get into real estate. No, he's selling you the book to tell you a
Yeah,
bunch of bullshit. That's how he's making
yeah,
his
it's a
money.
grift. It's an old school grift before we had these things. But you know what's
Right.
crazy though? The thing that gets me though is it's gone from like the long term grifts, the Ponzi schemes, the multi level marketing stuff, like the oh if you get 10 of your friends to sell, then I'll give you an extra $100, and then they can get all their 10 of each of their friends, and then they'll all get 100. Like this
Right.
whole shit. And but now it's like it's just
100%.
straight up. It happens in a news cycle. It happens in 24 hours. Like look at this thing with Minecraft, with this fake Minecraft server. Like it pops up, it makes $1 million, it vanishes overnight,
Hmm.
and then it happens the next day again, and then it happens the next day, and it's like millions of dollars are getting just drained from these people, and they keep buying into it, or like it's the first one they've ever bought into, so they buy into this one. Like, oh, it's insane. I don't get it. I just
Right.
don't get it.
Yeah, it's sad, and it's like
Accelerating so fast.
you go on Twitter and you say it's a scam, and people will be like, "No, you just don't get it." No, like, no, I get it, and that's the thing. It's like gamers get it. We don't want it. We are sick and tired of seeing companies find new ways to fuck us as customers.
No, absolutely.
And we've seen how lazy Ubisoft has been and can be, their potential for being just selling half-ass product. We've seen unfinished Assassin's Creed games. We've seen DLC where it's what $20 DLC and it's just like a grid in a room obstacle course and that's it.
Oh
That was
yeah.
that was
Yep.
like, come on. You don't think that this company just 10 years later is going to pass up another opportunity to scam people out of fucking money with like lazy bullshit? This is
Oh, dude,
exactly
there's
what they
been
did.
tons of it. I mean, look at like what was it? There was notorious ones like people got mad like I mean, Star Wars Battlefront 2 had to change its entire thing because so many people got so mad at it so fast that they had no choice but to like
Right.
revert changes on it. But those changes only happened because of backlash. So like if people aren't backlashing against these projects, and then how do you even backlash against a fake Minecraft server NFT project that opens and closes in 24 hours? You don't
Right.
even have time to like circulate the news about it being a fake thing that's scamming people before they're already scammed. Like
Exactly.
you just say it was 8 minutes it sold out. Like what are you gonna do? Tell people in the first 8 minutes, like halfway through the 8 minutes, like don't buy it and hope that the message spreads? Like,
Yeah.
dude, like that could have opened, and the day that it opened, the minute that it opened, like the president could have like done like a national emergency announcement to not buy this server token thing, and then it still would have sold out in time. There's no way you couldn't stop this. It's insane.
Yep. It's just nice to see that there was an actual paper trail that like kind of anchored these guys to this, and they had to come back out of the woodwork. That's what I
Yeah.
find hilarious. They still have all these people's money, but I guess the customers are collectively trying to like take over and take back the ownership of this server. I don't know, but the people who already have the money, they want to keep it. Of course, they want to keep it. Is the whole point.
Well, how many
Um,
times have we seen like companies not in the same vein as this, but companies that like pull, blue collar crimes. They steal this, they steal that, they export, things they're not supposed to export. They violate rules and blah blah blah. They make millions or billions of dollars on the backs of like the regular workers, or they do it on the back of like some sort of scam or scheme, and then they get caught out, and what happens? They get like hit with like $250,000 fine, and it was like, dude, the guy made $300 million
cost of doing
smuggling art
business,
into the country and
baby.
selling it. Yeah, black market art dealership or something, and the dude made $300 million on it. And when you bust him, you charge him $250,000,
Hmm.
and he like hands you cash out of his like suit pocket and then leaves the police station. And you're like, oh yeah, he learned his lesson. Like, okay, dude, like, oh man.
Yeah, it's pretty
And that's
wild.
and that's like when you have like an established business in the country and get caught on paper. Like what happens when it's like a dude on the internet from like Moscow sets up like a coin, gets like 100 grand, and then shuts it down the same day? Like what do you do to that guy?
Hmm.
You tell Putin that you want him over here? Like I want that $100,000 grift guy. He scammed a bunch of Americans. Like no, you're not gonna get any response for that. Oh
Exactly.
man.
Yeah, it's pretty wild here. I can't wait to see what we talk about next week as far as NFTs. I'm so goddamn sick and tired of it, but it's like just people just don't learn. Um,
Yeah, it's depressing. It
yep.
really is depressing, especially like knowing that I know real people who do this stuff and buy into it, and I'm just like,
What can you do?
yeah,
What
like
can you
well,
do?
and it's
Like
like
what?
it's not like I just watched the train wreck and then was like, that sucks. I'll be like, hey, this is a bad idea, and they're like, no, and then it's a bad idea,
Right.
and I'm like, wow, I I can't even feel bad. Like I can't even feel. How am I supposed to feel bad for you? Like, come on. Ugh.
Exactly. Yeah. I just it's one of those things where it's like you try to help people and they know better. They know better. And it's like and I think a lot of
Dude,
it comes from desperation. Um,
yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it's desperation because I've had people who I would consider very smart people who are very open to like discussion, and not like open to like having their opinions changed by force, but like they'll discuss it and they'll look it up and they'll research it, and then they just jump on like Shibcoin, and you're like, why? And they're like, oh, I like Shibas, and I'm like, you don't invest in a coin because you like the mascot, like. What? You know
right.
this. Like you have a degree in marketing. How did you not know that you shouldn't fall for pretty pictures? And they're like, "Well, I liked it so much though." And I'm like, "Oh my god. How did you do this?"
Now I will disclose, like I had a friend, coworker sign me up for Robinhood, the Robinhood app, and you get like
Yeah.
2 free stocks when you sign up or some dumb shit. And I just like sat on it, completely forgot about it, and this like penny stock I had shot up in value to like $50. So I
There you
sold it
go.
and then flipped it into Dogecoin. And so I saw like a big hype coming about it. I'm like, I'm gonna get on it. It's money I can afford to lose because it's not money I've ever made in the first place.
Yeah, like you're like gambling, but at that point,
Right.
it's like gambling. Yeah, so it's whatever.
Yeah, so I flipped this into Dogecoin and it spiked up, and Elon Musk was talking about it and then blah 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 blah, and he was about to go on Saturday Night Live, and I'm like, I'm gonna sell it because I know he's gonna dog whistle something,
Yep.
to get people to sell, and that's exactly what happened. So I walked away with
Oh
like
yeah,
$600 in my pocket, um, and that was it.
dude. I think for Christmas when your stockpile is like a stock app, and they were giving away like $5 in a free stock for something, so I just
Hmm.
took it and I got $5 in Disney, which that officially makes me a $5 Disney shill. I'm fine with that.
you
Um,
you own $5
and
worth of
like
Disney.
to this day, I think it's worth like $6 or $7 because it went up since then. But like,
Yeah,
I don't ever
Disney's
do
always
anything
gonna
with
make
it. It's
money.
just every once in a while, I think like the value of my stock portfolio goes up like 15 cents a quarter because they actually pay dividends on their stock.
Hmm.
So like every once in a while, I'll get a notification that's like, that thing you don't do anything with? It's got 15 more cents in it, and I'm like, okay,
Nice.
I'll retire on that in 50 years when it's $18
You're right.
or something. Like,
Oh, you gotta love it, man. All right.
it's insane.
Oh, this is our last story for the stream. Um, Halo Infinite is not finding much of an audience on Twitch.
Hollow
Um,
Infinite.
so yeah, this is an interesting one. Of course, it was a Paul Tassi thing. We were just talking last night. We're like, Paul Tassi hasn't really done much this week as far as anything, and then of course today he rattles a cage immediately. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like a discussion as far as not really seeing much of like a player base on Twitch. Um, and why that is. So it's kind of interesting. And there was a pretty big discussion on Twitter about it. I'll bring up the actual Twitter post here. Let me see if I can figure this out. Will that work? Fuck no. Um, see here. So we'll turn off the slideshow for a second if it'll let me. Wow, having all kinds of difficulties tonight, man.
Weird.
It's just one of those nights.
Yeah.
All right. So Paul Tassi posted this on Twitter. There's I wouldn't say like a backlash. I think there's a lot of people have genuine gripes about the game. Um,
Oh, for sure.
and someone did say Twitch is a bad metric for a game success. That's fair, but Paul Tassi wasn't talking about the game success. And we see that a lot
Yeah.
with like, dude, Xbox, especially like Halo stands, dude, they have such a chip on their shoulder, man.
Yeah.
It's wild to watch that on Twitter. Like Sony has problems too with fans, but holy shit, Xbox guys take it to a whole new level, man. It's insane to watch this shit. Um,
It feels like they take it personally or something. Like even if you the first one I saw, the first reply on this thread I saw under like where Tassie replied back to the guy was like, "This doesn't mean it's not successful," and he was like, "No one even said that."
yeah, he's.
Like,
I mean, I'm not trying to say Halo Infinite isn't successful. And to the defense of
yeah,
Halo, it had 20 million players,
oh yeah,
on like
it
what the
wasn't like
first week.
by no means a dead game or anything.
Right. So, but we'll get into that. Um, so
I will
yeah.
say, I will say, like off the cuff, quick analysis about Halo Infinite. I want to say that because the multiplayer part of the game is the more like I want to say streamable part of the game. That's what more people are probably tuned in to watch.
Mhm.
Is free to play on Xbox and PC, which is the majority of like gamers. I feel like have at least one of those two. Um, And the fact that the actual main campaign, while it is $60, which is mind blowing for what is effectively half a game at that point,
Right.
but regardless, it's on Game Pass for like $1 on the same platforms, which means that most people who want to get their itch scratched for Halo Infinite could do it for $1 and then walk away from it.
Hmm.
I'm not surprised no one's watching it on Twitch because I think most people who wanted to actually see it just did it themselves.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, that's
I
a
wouldn't be
very good
surprised.
point. Um,
It's just so accessible for like no cost. I can't imagine a lot of people want to watch people play it. You know?
yeah, I mean, there's a pretty, I would say, pretty eclectic um, spectrum of responses here on Twitter. This
Yeah.
one here, like, I absolutely love the campaign, but my God, does the multiplayer have problems? It was released in a worse state than Halo 5. I would tend to agree with that.
Wow, I had heard mixed reviews for sure about the multiplayer,
Mm-hmm.
but I hate Halo 5.
And this was a game that released, and then like literally the day after was Player Choice Game of the Year on
That
Game
was
Awards.
insane.
Not
I
suspect
refuse to
whatsoever.
believe. I'm not the kind of person who like conspiracies and they're like, oh yeah, this was paid off or whatever. But
That
like, I cannot
stunk,
possibly believe that that wasn't
bro.
forced by
That
somebody.
stunk
There's
so
no
bad.
way.
Yeah, it was such a shit take. Like, it was so transparent. Like, who voted
Especially
for
like,
this?
especially when like the entire year running, people kept cracking jokes about games like Final Fantasy having like this crazy huge fan base and everybody's playing it. And have you heard of it? The meme was like, have you heard of this game? It's so
Right.
big, and that became a joke because everybody had heard of that game. That of course everybody had heard of that game. And then it won like multiple awards, the Game Awards, for like best community, best ongoing game. And then they were like, oh yeah, and fan favorite game was Halo. And it was like, wait, how? Everybody like, how did Final Fantasy win 2 awards for like community and like longest running game, and then not get this one? But it
Right.
went to a game that came out yesterday or like a week ago.
Literally
Like that,
the day after. Literally.
and
Um,
then not just that, but like the game was still like a beta, quote unquote. And it's like that gets frustrating because we've seen games where it's like, oh, this game was game of the year, but it was like a Steam greenlight game that wasn't out of like beta yet, and you're like, but it's been in beta for like 2 years. It's been
right.
it's been on Steam's greenlight program for 2 years. Like, when does it become? It's like early access for like half a decade. When does it become like a released game? And they're like, well, whenever. And you're like, okay, great. Like, I'm glad it's eventually coming out. I don't know, something that's weird.
Mm-hmm. Let's read some more responses. So, Halo is so boring to watch. Even the most intense moments are held back by the game's minimalist animation, and the ordinances are entirely too precise for them to be fun to see. And that's kind of Halo in a nutshell. I mean, there's a lot of walking and there's
That's fair.
a lot of grass staring, and you're just like, okay, going up this hill, going back down this hill. That's kind of like a hallmark of Halo. I get it. Who wants
Well,
to watch
like
it?
I feel like you could make that same claim for a game like Destiny, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion, because 90% of the fun of Destiny and Halo for me would be the gunplay and the
Sure.
gameplay.
And
I don't.
that immersion may not transfer well to something that's like watchable as an for an
Oh yeah,
audience.
absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely, it wouldn't.
People said it wouldn't be big on Twitch without a battle royale. We were right. That's fair, I guess. As much as I can't stand them, battle royales are big. We
Yeah.
and they draw an audience. There's a reason that people watch it. So there's that. There are several games that
Wow.
seem to not have an audience until tourney time, and it spikes to number one and then falls off dramatically. I don't think casual Halo is fun to watch. Uh, it's either comp or stupid, goofy games which we need Forge for. Again, a feature that's missing
Absolutely
out of the
true.
game still.
Dude, absolutely true, because I can tell you for a fact that some of the most fun that we had in like Halo Reach days was like either playing very seriously
Hmm.
or playing like the zombies game where the vehicles spawn on the hill and the zombie gets a vehicle and tries to run you over, and then they teleport back with the
Right?
teleporter, and they just keep trying to run you over and over. Or
Yeah.
like look at stuff like even Griffball. Griffball was literally like a fan creation that people got so like hardcore over that it became part of the game or whatever.
Hmm.
Like yeah, and like you said, like a lot of people love watching competitive Halo when you've got like teams like competing for like the top spots or stuff. That's more interesting to watch than just randos just running around
Sure.
in the multiplayer.
There's another one. It's slow and boring. Not surprising.
Dude, did you see the metric about Battlefield 5 right above that? It was
Um.
like Battlefield 5's only trailing Halo Infinite by like 3K players,
Hmm.
which is insane because
Yeah.
Battlefield 5 bombed.
So let's talk about that. Halo concurrent players are drastically dropping um, on Steam. So Microsoft is very um, selective about what statistics they release and what they don't. So they'll say something like, "Oh yeah, Halo's got 20 million players." That doesn't mention like player retainment though. So you talk about,
Yeah.
oh yeah, $20 million, and they're like I said, they're very selective about what they'll say. They said that Xbox, the new Xbox SNS, was the fastest selling console they've ever had. Cool, but they will not release
Sure.
total numbers. Um,
Yeah.
it's easy to make that claim that this is the fastest selling Xbox they've ever had when bots are buying them up like that, like literally under a second. You know, entire
Oh
websites and
yeah.
entire company inventories are being wiped out, and literally under a mouse click. So yeah, it's easy to make that claim. But we can't. We need to see some side by side units in comparison to see what that true success is. So I don't know if
Right.
that's something they'll even put in like an earnings report or anything.
Well, that's like, so for context for people who, because when you hear someone say 20 million players, I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people 20 million players sounds like a crazy big number.
Sure.
Um, for context, 20 million players playing Halo. Um, the game Fortnite is sitting at around 350 million, which isn't doing anything crazy right now. It's not a fresh launch.
Just
It's not like, I
static.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, just the same as it ever was. Warzone, the free Call of Duty game, which again has nothing going on for it right now that I've heard of, at least nothing big or
That was a
nothing
flop out of the gate.
widespread.
Mm-hmm.
100 million players. So Halo 5 at its peak, at its most intense, is scratching 20% of the free Call of Duty game and scratching 1/17th, 1/18th of Fortnite. Like 5% of Fortnite numbers, 6% of Fortnite numbers, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
That's not good.
No,
Halo shouldn't be trailing Fortnite by 94%. Like that's wild.
it's
I
horrible.
mean, and
Um,
especially it'd be one thing if it was like nobody had the Xbox or people didn't want to pay $60 for the Halo game. No, no, no. This was a free to play multiplayer game that you can play on your
everyone.
computer as
Right.
well.
Exactly.
Everyone has access to this
There's
game
no
for the most part,
excuse.
and it's $0 to play it. Like I have Halo Infinite installed on my computer. I'm pretty sure you or Dark or anyone in our community or your community, mine, we all have access to this game. We all play Final Fantasy 14. We all play Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
None of us are playing Halo Infinite. I think Dark played it for a few nights and thought it was fun and then put it down.
Yeah, I
I
haven't
played
I
it for
haven't
like
heard
a
about it
day
since.
and was like
Um,
cool and then put it down.
I
Like
downloaded it and then I uninstalled it for the Final Fantasy Endwalkers. I needed space for the update.
fair.
Um,
But like I downloaded it and I went into like the weapon testing and I was like the new weapons are cool and I played like 2 matches and I was like cool. Yeah, Halo used to be great. And then I just put it back down. I was like
right.
no, and I haven't opened it ever since. Like
Yeah, man, it's
yeah.
brutal. Um,
Oh, and actually, not to mention on top of those ones, League of Legends, which is also a free to play game, sits at about a half a million.
hmm,
And that game's toxic as hell. As much as I like it, and a lot of us like it, we don't play that game either right now because it's a toxic mess.
sure.
But it still gets half a million players. Like, and the market's the same. PC and League is what? Only a PC game. You can't even play that on console.
Nope. Not that I'm
So
aware of.
obviously things need to be changed. Oh yeah, FF14's daily players right now on average is 3.6 million players a day. That's a paid subscription game, dude. Like
Yeah.
3.5 million players. Like, come on.
Yeah,
And
it's
you think Endwalker's expansion is a bigger hype thing than like a whole new game? Like it's not even comparable. Not even the same ballpark.
100%.
Insane.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we can see concurrent players on Steam. I don't have them in front of me. I don't know if you can bring them up, but they're tanking.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's great that you can usher 20 million players into this game, but if you can't retain them, then what do you have? You have nothing. And I think what the biggest problem was with their development cycle, and all the stalling and all the ad hoc pieces, like releasing things piecemeal. I think they had to pivot their multiplayer to compete with like free games like Apex. I don't think that was originally planned. Um, and I think it was a combination of a late release cycle and then having again to adapt and pivot to compete with like games like Apex and all those like free to play battle royale games. I
Yeah.
just don't see it. I just don't see that this recovering. They said, "Oh, we're going to do this and that and this and that." And like I said from the beginning, like they're going to be behind now because this is already a delayed game. They're behind in development cycle, and then they're releasing season, like they're going to be releasing these season passes. They're never going to catch up. whatever your expectation as far as quality of this game is never going to be met because they're always going to be behind the ball now.
Here, you want to hear something funny?
Always.
Here's your statistics. Um, Halo Infinite right now did not show up on the top 10 when I
Yep.
looked real quick.
It fell off the
So I had
top
to
10.
expand it. I had to expand it. So here's what we've got. The top games by current player count peak today. Counter-Strike Global Offensive is number 1. Dota's up there. PUBG, Apex Legends, Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, Team Fortress 2, Rust, Grand Theft Auto 4, MIR4, which I don't even know what that is, but sure, that's
Grand
there.
Theft Auto 4, not 5.
Grand Theft Auto 5
Okay.
and
Okay.
MIR4, whatever
Mm-hmm.
that is. Destiny 2 is, I believe, 10th right now. Yes, 60,000 players. Ark is up there. New World, Monster, dude. New World
That's what I
is
was
at
going. My next
80,000
question is like,
people, and
where's
it's
New
got
World in
12
this,
people. It's number 12 with like 80,000 people.
bro? You've
And if
got
you're doing
problems.
worse than that,
If you're
that's
doing
one
worse
thing.
than
But
New
like,
World,
when your game is when your game is like, I mean, like, so like the next one's Monster Hunter Rise, but this is a single player game. Of course, that shouldn't have crazy numbers like this.
sure.
And they're up there, number 13. Wallpaper Engine, I don't even know what that is. Sid Meier's is up there.
Bro, you're losing to Wallpaper Engine.
Final Fantasy 14 Online, Sid Meier's Civilization 6, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, Terraria, Warframe, Stardew Valley, 7 Days to Die, Rocket League, Football Manager 2022. Do you
And that
remember
game was
Valheim?
hated.
Do you remember Valheim that
Uh-huh.
everyone stopped playing? Valheim has 50,000 peak players today, 29,000 concurrent. They are ahead of them. FIFA 22, VR Chat, Left 4 Dead 2, Payday 2, and the Elder Scrolls 5
Left 4
Skyrim.
Dead 2 is a
Halo Infinite,
15-year-old game. No, like
Halo
20-year-old
Infinite.
game at this point.
Oh yeah, Halo Infinite clocks in behind the Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim, and it clocks in at number 35 with 28,000 peak players on a Sunday afternoon or Sunday, whatever. 24,000 overall players or whatever average.
Yeah.
Um,
There's their own I think their own lovely system is working against them because once you max out, what's the point? Move on to something else, right?
yeah. What do you do? Like, it should be about playing the game because the game's fun, primarily. Like,
Right. It shouldn't feel
dude,
like a full-time job.
Phasmophobia is creeping up on them. Fallout 4 is creeping up on them. Imagine losing to Fallout
Bro,
4.
a 10-year-old game.
And what's crazy too is like some of these games, and we're talking Steam numbers, and a lot of these games aren't even like Final Fantasy 14, for example, was I think in the top 20, and nobody plays it on Steam. Like
Right.
the actual Windows numbers are huge, or the console numbers are huge compared to this. Like even just on Steam, number 35 slot today. They're not. And this was like a holiday game, wasn't it? This isn't even like
Halo?
what is happening
No.
here? Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like Christmas.
It was they had to release it. They had to release it tactfully early
Oh
to get
yeah,
it
because
in
it
for the
wasn't like
holiday because it was
done.
like they delayed it and it was like November whatever it was like the Thursday after Black Friday. It was like the absolute latest that they could release this game for the holiday and still have momentum to be sold.
You know what else is interesting? If you go look on the page for Halo Infinite, the the overall perception is mostly positive with 127,000 views. But if you look at recent views, in the last 30 days, 10,000 reviews came in that were
Mixed or negative?
mixed. Yeah, mixed or negative, or mixed right now. So like, even the people who play the game are like starting to like leave reviews and be like, "This isn't doing it for me" or whatever.
Yeah, the cracks are starting to show, which is exactly what I said. Exactly what I said before this game came out. Um,
People are saying it could have been a great game, but dumb monetization. Things
yep.
aren't working the way they should. You know, the gameplay is fine, but like the progression and customization systems are so bad it makes me stop playing. Like, dude, imagine making a game where the game is fun to play, but outside systems that you put in the game. Like, dude, I couldn't even imagine having a game where it's like, why aren't you playing my game? And people are like, oh, it's fun to play your game, but your game also sucks outside of
Right.
playing the game. Like, that's incredible. How do you make a game that plays well, but then everything else around it is so bad? You know,
Yeah,
like,
I mean that's what
you're
happens when
burying
you
yourself.
make design this just to be a fucking cash vacuum. It's hard to get around that, you know. It's like you always have that shit.
Yeah,
It's always being shoved in your face. Like here's this pack, buy these crystals for $5. It's
sure.
just
That's like I have that
when
same
that shit's
gripe with like,
constantly shoved in your face, it turns people off, and that's never going to go away.
well, it's like I have that kind of gripe with, and don't get me wrong, it's a much lesser extent, but I have that same kind of gripe with a game like Destiny, where like Destiny's gameplay, the gunplay and the moving around and fighting things and everything is fantastic.
Hmm.
I could do that all day and not get bored of it, but all the other stuff you have to do, the things you have to go through to get in missions. You have to have certain gun types for certain shield types for certain elements, and there's certain things happening, and
Right.
like all that makes me like want to put it back down.
There's
Like, and
400 there's
that's the reason why
400
I haven't played
simultaneous
it.
metas going on right now, and it's like if you don't have them all, you can't play the game right. People won't want to play
Right.
with you, and that's how it is. It's
That's
not
why, like, as much as and it's a weird position because if Bungie looked at me and they were like, "What do you think of Destiny right now?" I'd be like, "Dude, the gameplay feels as good as it's ever felt, and I'm enjoying it heavily. But I'm also not
100%.
playing your game right now because of all the other shit."
Right.
So it's like, oh, oh man,
Yeah, I hear
shooting
you.
the own foot, right?
Yeah, I just so I don't know. I'm gonna get rid of that tab here. We'll bring that one up later. So yeah, that's where we are. Of course, my fucking slideshow reset. So we're gonna, dude. Why does Streamlabs hate me today?
Wild. Look at those great values on those Xbox games.
Look at those great values.
It's a
What's the
$9 game
deal
for free.
with all these values?
I like how it's like $8.99 free, but like $8.99 as if it was like that was like the MSRP was like $9. Like,
Right.
oh
Yeah,
my god.
that's wild. Let me see here. What else do we have to talk about? I guess nothing in the slideshow. We didn't get rid of the slideshow, so that's done. Crisis
Yeah, I think
averted.
we're just what are we on to like this day in history or
We got some game releases coming up,
game release is coming.
and
Yeah.
we're gonna cut this one in half because February is getting pretty big. We're starting to see some game releases come back. January, of course, was a little slow. We didn't see a whole lot, with the exception of Arceus releasing at the last minute, and I think maybe Uncharted. Those are probably like the two big titles of January. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, Arceus will sell well. And if you're having fun with it, great.
Yeah,
Anyway, moving
more
on.
power to you.
So we have Life is Strange. We just talked about it with the Stadia releasing that in their pro games. Life is Strange
Mm-hmm.
Remastered Collection coming out in the PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Stadia, and PC. Waylanders coming to PC February 2nd. And then we have Sherlock Holmes Crime and Punishment coming to the Switch February 3rd. We have Dying Light 2, Stay Human. That's coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, and PC February 4th. Ollie World, I'm pretty sure we've seen trailers of that on this podcast before. Side-scroller kind of skateboarding game, not too different from like the it's the Game Boy Advance Tony Hawk's. Is that a fair comparison?
Yeah, I think so.
Sifu is coming to PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and PC February. I guess that's going to be the 8th as well. We have Arcade Action Wrestling. Gotta love it. It's coming to the Switch February 9th. Backbone coming to the Switch February 9th. Crossfire X. You'll get caught up in it. Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One
You'll get caught
February
up in
10th.
it.
Edge of Eternity coming out to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, February 10th. Cardboard Kings, PC coming February 10th. And then, of course, we have the Kingdom Hearts trilogy coming to the Switch via the cloud.
I want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it either, but I really want to see how this game does, and I'm already seeing the excuses that we're going to get for this.
I will say that as a person in the Kingdom Hearts community who follows some Kingdom Hearts people, the community pretty much seems to be like the community consensus seems to be like, don't buy this.
Yeah,
Like, and it's funny because Kingdom Hearts
I
is one of those
love
communities where
Kingdom
like
Hearts.
well, that's the thing. Everybody in the community loves the games, and they love to like. They'll tell people like, "Hey, if you want to see it on PlayStation, and they put out like one version of it, buy it." Or if you want to see other games get put out, or you want to see other things, like you vote with your wallet and support the franchise that you like.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll tell people like, "Yeah, this merch is really cool. Buy it. These small content creators are doing stuff. You should check them out." And then when it came to this, they were like, "Cloud games on Switch," and they were like, "Don't buy this." Like all the
Yes,
people in the community who are like higher people with like big like pulling power and stuff, they're like, "Don't buy this. Just don't
100%.
buy this." And it's nothing against Kingdom Hearts. We love their products and we
Yeah,
love the franchise.
100%.
It's more of a message to Square Enix directly to not gimp
Unacceptable.
on ports like this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like no one's saying like it's like what's a good example of it? Like not buying the 7 remake on PC because it was junk. It's not a message to like Tetsuya Nomura that you don't like 7 remake. It's a message to
Of
like
course.
Square Enix product brand developer number 4 that you can't just port it poorly and let people like put money into it.
Right.
Like they've got to fix it, kind of thing.
Moosh says we're so mean. We're not mean. We're just realistic. I love Kingdom
Yeah, I
Hearts.
mean,
It's
don't
one
get
of the
me wrong.
best game series ever made, and that's
Yeah,
I'll die on that hill all day. Um,
I'm very happy to see it come to Switch, but this is not
Not
how
the
it
way
should
I
have.
wanted
Because
to
you know
see
what's
it.
going to happen? A lot of people are going to get it, and a lot of kids are going to get it, and they're going to play it on their maybe not so great network or their internet or whatever, and then
They're
they're
gonna
going to
hate the
have problems
series.
with it, and they're going to be like, "Oh, this wasn't that great," and their experience of Kingdom Hearts is going to be not enjoyable, and therefore, like when 4 comes out or the next, I don't know, Kingdom Hearts 510 Moonrise over Tokyo comes out, and they decide to not buy it because the last one was bad.
Yeah,
It
I
sucks.
I love this edition of Kingdom Hearts 2. It's Kingdom Hearts 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue. Final Chapter Prologue. Tokyo Drift, Sonic and Knuckles,
Listen,
baby.
listen. The final chapter prologue contains Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance (DDD), Kingdom Hearts back cover, and Kingdom Hearts 0.2 A Fragmentary Passage. And I did not make up any of those titles. So have fun with that.
I love it. I love it. Like it's like oh man, it's all the cutscenes from the games they were too lazy to port. I just
Yeah, well,
it blows me away.
that one is not. I will defend that one. That one is the movie back cover was a collection of basically redone version of cutscenes from the mobile game.
Okay.
Um, the 0.2 was the Unreal tech demo basically for 3, and then Dream Drop was the 3DS game, and it was a full playable game. 1.5 and 2.5 do both have just strict cutscenes ripped out of other games that were actually fun to play, and
Mm,
that sucks. I
yeah,
hated when they did that. Because Coded wasn't the best Kingdom Hearts game, but the leveling system in Coded was really cool. Did you ever see that one or play that one?
I have not.
You had like a computer like motherboard almost,
Mm-hmm.
and you would get chips when you leveled up, and you'd plug the chips in the board, and it would like level you up, or it would unlock abilities like dodge roll and like Ars Arcanum and everything.
Okay.
And as you got through the board, there was because it was like a computer board, there was like cheats you could find where it'd be like extra mana or do this like double health, and you could activate them when you unlocked them. So it really felt interactive and interesting, which is great because Coded was literally a retelling of one
Mm-hmm.
again. So like the story was boring and everything, but like the gameplay was fun, and we could talk about it off stream. But like Coded had a lot of good things going for it, and it sucks that they just ripped all the cutscenes out and were like, here you go.
Hmm.
And then 358 over 2 was the other one where they ripped all the cutscenes out and just said, here you go. And that was another thing where like you play the whole game as Roxas and Shion,
Mm-hmm.
and you could play as the entire organization, all 14 members, in the multiplayer mode where you did missions together.
That's cool.
And there was all kinds of cool stuff in that game, and they buried it all by just ripping the cutscenes and being like, "Here you go." Even Birth by Sleep had multiplayer modes and a whole arena that you could do, and they like were like meh, and they just didn't make it a thing. And you were like,
That's a
"But
shame.
why? It was some of the most fun parts of the game, you know." It's and people were mad about that because it feels like a time thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like they could have done it with the
Feels
time. Obviously, the
rushed.
content exists. Yeah, like the content exists. You could have made this happen, you know. But
Yeah,
but
to people who and I'm an avid Switch collector. Anyone in my Discord knows that.
yeah, oh yeah,
Especially after today, after I posted the picture of my collection.
oh yeah, yeah.
I can't get behind this release. There is better ways to experience Kingdom Hearts, and probably cheaper. This whole package is like I think if you buy it now, it's like $72, but it's like almost 100
If you
bucks.
pre-order,
Yeah, if you
yeah,
pre-order
it's
it, but
90 normally.
it's like
Yep.
100 like $92 if you don't pre-order it. Um, so
And I'll be honest with
they get you by
people.
the balls there.
I'll be honest with people. If you're looking to play the Kingdom Hearts franchise,
Let's play on
um,
PlayStation.
the best thing to do is get a PlayStation, get like a PS4, get a PS4 Pro, whatever you can get your hands on. I'm pretty sure the games run even just fine on the regulars. I had it on the Pro because I got the Kingdom Hearts Pro, and it
Mm-hmm.
runs like butter on there. But like, get a PlayStation 4. You can get the all-in-one package that has everything, and call it a day, and you
I'll
have
bet you it's under
everything.
like $60 in the PlayStation too.
Probably. And
Wait
if
for
you
a sale
can't,
on the PlayStation, like, and they have them every other weekend.
if you don't want to put the money into a PlayStation, because I understand even getting a PlayStation cheap is probably a couple $100s. You could, if you have a PC, you bite the bullet and get it on the Epic Game Store because again, it's not going to run you as much as it would cost on the Switch, and it's going to be one runnable on the PC completely fine without any problems, no slowdown, lag, whatever, disconnect, yada yada. And two, if you're that kind of person, mods. Play Kingdom Hearts 3 as like I don't know
Kingdom
Reptar
Hearts is
because you
all in on
can.
Epic.
Why not? Yeah, it only came to Epic, if I'm not mistaken. People
Wow.
assume that there's a deal, like a time deal, because it's not on Steam. And a lot of people, again, were doing like the Square Enix, come on, this could have come to Steam and did numbers.
Sure.
And I'm
But
sure that Epic probably gave them money to not do it on Steam up
yeah, they got
front.
to pay for the
And
loss because there's 100% going
yeah,
to be a loss if you're not putting your
it's
product on
100% a
every
loss.
platform you
Yeah, there's
can.
no way. There's no way you make enough on Epic to offset not going to Steam.
No.
So, but
Oh.
that's the thing. Like again, it's one of the situations where like a lot of people in the community say don't buy it on Epic because they're trying to send a message to Square that they should make better decisions for the franchise, like putting it on Steam.
Sure.
And you know as well as I do, the only reason it went to Steam and not Epic was a check. There was no
Exactly.
other reason not to put it on Steam. Any other business would look at that and say, this much install base versus this much smaller install base, you go for either the bigger base or both.
Right.
There's absolutely no world where you go for the small one unless the money is made up somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, there's no world where you don't do both, either or. I mean,
Yeah,
that's business. I mean, unless you're getting a full
exactly.
blown check to compensate for it, or at least
Yep.
pay in advance to compensate for it for a little bit, like a year. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
but yeah, you can't. They're not idiots. They know what they have as far as a product. They know
Oh
Final
yeah.
Fantasy VII remake is a huge hit. They know Kingdom Hearts is a massive hit, um,
Yeah.
just by the name alone. So it's yeah, it is what it is there.
We just have to keep putting pressure on Square Enix to do the right thing by not supporting when they do the wrong thing, even if it's our favorite franchise, even if we love 7 Remake and we
Mm-hmm.
love Kingdom Hearts, like if you just bite the bullet and don't buy it for the third time or you don't buy it at all on those systems when it's a bad
Right.
port or it's done
It's a
for
cloud
shady
version of the
reasons.
game. There's no physical release for it, so there's nothing to lose. Like
Yeah.
the game's tethered to an internet connection, which kind of defeats the purpose of the Switch inherently. Um, so it's like if you're on the go, you're in the car, you want to play Kingdom Hearts, you better hope your car has Wi-Fi in it, and you better hope
Yeah,
it's a
or
damn
good
good
mobile
connection.
connection. Yeah. Yeah, if you want something to if you are the owner of a Switch, especially if you are a brand new Switch owner, cough cough, moosh. And you have a Kingdom Hearts itch, buy Melody of Memory. It's probably like $50 right now or
Mhm.
less, and you
Dude,
get
I
to go through all
got
the
that on
previous
Amazon
games,
for
Kingdom Hearts games.
$15.
Yeah, I was like, I'm sure you can find it for cheap. At this point, like, and it's not Kingdom Hearts gameplay, but you get to visit all the worlds from all the games in chronological order, and
Mhm.
they talk about them all. So like, it'll give you that nice like sort of fill in on Kingdom Hearts,
Isn't there some
and
like
the
big
music's a good part of it.
pivotal
So
storyline reveal in that game too?
of course there is.
Of
In the
course there
last
is.
5 seconds, there's like 2 cutscenes in the entire game, and they both take place like I think near the end or like in the beginning and then the end. And it's a story twist that matters to the story, and of course you don't get there until you beat the game, and it's
Huh.
I mean, let's be honest. They could put out like a Kingdom Hearts coloring book, and then it would be like $30, and it'd be sealed at the store. But then the last page of it would be like a spoiler for like leading into the next game,
Sure.
and you'd be like, "Well, I have to buy that coloring book because it's got the last page is like the new scene for the next game or whatever." Like, I love Kingdom Hearts, but I will say they have a notorious history of doing that. They've made mobile games that have had story relevance. They've done like because like I think if you follow them in order as they happened, it was like you needed a PlayStation 2, then needed a Game Boy Advance, then you needed the PlayStation 2, then you needed the DS,
PSP. You
then
had a
you needed a
PSP game.
PSP, then you needed a 3DS,
3DS. Yeah.
and then you needed a PlayStation 3. Well, you didn't need a 3 because they didn't make anything for the 3, which was funny.
Yeah, that was fucking messy. Like I'm not gonna
Of all
lie.
things, like, but
As
like no, like if you didn't play, Coded was a mobile phone game in Japan that had story relevant bits in it, and then like Chain of Memories was like it got a PS2 port eventually, and then Coded got a DS port eventually, which is nice. But
mm-hmm.
like if you didn't have a PSP and you didn't get Birth by Sleep, you were missing a lot of important stuff. If you
Dude,
didn't
I'm
get a
telling
DS
you.
to play those DS games, you were missing a lot of important stuff. If you didn't play Dream Drop Distance, a lot of people didn't play Dream Drop Distance, and they went from like 2 to 3, and they were like, "Oh, I've been waiting 15 years for the next Kingdom Hearts," and it's like they put one out in the 3DS, and it was actually a really good game, but it was on the 3DS, so for a lot of people, it was a non-starter
Yep.
and it was covered in important story bits. So like you walked into 3 and you were like, "What?" Dude, it
Yep.
was so crazy that at the start of 3, if you ever play that game,
Mm-hmm.
they open with like a recap because they understand a lot of people did not jump around
Yeah.
to play the other
You
stuff.
have to. If you're put like
Yeah.
if you're spinning off your series and there's major plot points, like you better
Hmm.
hope these people have every system. I happen
Well,
to
dude,
have every system, but that still doesn't make it
yeah.
right.
When
So,
people started Kingdom Hearts at 2 or like went from 1 to 2 and then it was like welcome to Kingdom Hearts 2. This is Roxas. And you're like,
Who the
who the
fuck
fuck
is
is
this? Right.
Roxas? And they're like, yeah, these are your friends and you live in Twilight Town. You're like, I don't know what's happening anymore. And then like a dude you don't know named Axel shows up and he's like, come back and be our friend, Roxas. And you're like, what? Who is this guy? And then another guy shows up and he's like, don't listen to that guy. And then the town starts to glitch and you're like, I don't know what is happening. And then you find Sora in a basement and then you die
Like
and
you
like
do.
become part of Sora and you're like, what is happening?
Right.
And then Sora's like, let's just go on an adventure. And you're like, why did the game open with this? Like, what are we doing? Like, and they're like, oh well, did you play 358 over 2 for the DS? And you're like, no. And they're like, oh, did you play Chain of Memories on the Game Boy Advance? And you're like, also no. And they're like, oh, well then you wouldn't have understood
Yeah.
the Organization 13 and the Castle Oblivion and everything.
Chain of Memories didn't do a fantastic job of explaining things either. So.
Yeah, the PS2 port was better. It had real cutscenes
Mm.
and it was rewritten, if I remember correctly, to be better about that. But like, yeah, it was just wild because a lot of people walked into 2 and they were like, I don't know what's happening. And then they were like, no, yeah, we understand. It was confusing. And then after 2, they were like, so buy a PSP and buy a 3DS and have a mobile phone, and
Mm-hmm.
then you can understand what's happening in 3. And people were like, okay. Like, oh man,
Gotta love it.
I love that franchise.
Oh,
But
dude,
who
I do
boy,
too. But
sometimes.
man, holy
And,
shit.
and you know what it feels like? 90% of the gripes I have are like corporate Square Enix making weird decisions.
Yeah, of course.
But we see that in everything they touch. Like they did, I mean, the Avengers, even Final Fantasy 14. I love that game to death, but every once in a while, it feels like a weird thing happens. And I think the only reason it doesn't happen often is because Yoshi probably just looks at them and they're like, "I fixed this, remember? So you
Mm-hmm.
let me do this." And Square Enix is like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, you handle 14 because you know what you're doing."
All
And
right.
every other thing that Square Enix touches, though, is like you get like weird mobile games like Tomb Raider. You get weird trilogy things. You get weird announcements. Like, I just think Yoshi needs to just take over the company at this point. It's like 14 and 16 are the best things they've got going for them right now. And Kingdom Hearts, and it feels like the times those games succeed is because of like Nomura and Yoshi P just being like, leave us the fuck alone and let us do this game.
Oh, let us
And
work on
outside of
Doom.
that, it's like, yeah, yeah, well, exactly. Like, it's wild to watch, because even like the marketing for 16, we could have had like 5 different trailers like teasing that game to us by now, and we don't because Yoshi specifically was like, no, we get a trailer to announce it, we get a trailer when it's almost done, just like we do in 14, and that's it. And I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee Square Enix to this day was chomping at the bit to show that game again, and they haven't been allowed to because Yoshi probably looked at them and was like, I swear to God, I'll walk off this set if you don't do what I tell you to do.
100%.
And they can't afford to lose him. The dude's look how successful that game is. It was so successful they had to stop selling it twice last year.
Yeah.
Like that's insane.
Oh man.
He's the golden goose. They'd be crazy to not listen to him about this stuff.
100%. Oh my god, yeah. All right. Let's move on. Let's kick it up with a Twitter rant session. New segment. But I just
Sure.
as much as I've been using Twitter a little bit more, holy fuck, man, people are dumb as shit. Even the journalists are dumb as shit. So let's take a look at this one. This dropped from Game Informer at the beginning of the week, as a reaction, of course, to Microsoft's news that they're buying Activision, and everyone had to throw their 2 cents in, and their 2 cents into the arena about their thoughts of, oh, what if Microsoft buys this company? What if Microsoft buys this company? So here's a great take from Game Informer, for fuck's sake. With Microsoft acquiring Activision Blizzard, one Game Informer editor believes it's time for PlayStation to put pieces together for an Xbox Game Pass competitor. Um,
They just now thought of this. Like,
I'm just gonna let it sink in.
yeah.
Project Spartacus. That's what they're doing. It's been announced. They're already talking about it. We're Game Informer. What are you doing? You're supposed to be game journalism, and you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Um, I just well,
Yeah.
this is from John Carson. John Carson, you should be ashamed of yourself. This is garbage journalism. And this is coming from a premier publication. Isn't this the same Game Informer that GameStop wants to sell you magazines of every time you walk into their fucking store? Um,
Right.
I mean, let's not pretend that Game Informer isn't actually just a publication advertisement, giant advertisement where game companies pay to have their spots put in these magazines. That's all it is. So, but yeah, I can't believe like the absolute deafness or just lack of awareness, for the lack of better terms, that a game publication wouldn't know that PlayStation already has this one in the works and it's been announced for months, and then
Absolutely.
rumored for months before that. I just come on.
Well, like what was it? We had I don't remember. I'm trying to see if I can go back and find the link that we had, but we had a discussion too about another game journalism news site like this put out an article that was like it was like the same thing. They were like talking about something that already existed or something that was going to happen as if it didn't already exist or happen. Oh, it was Final
Mm,
Fantasy. Remember, I looked up an article for FF14 about the next patch, and they were like, oh, we might see. Who knows what we're going to see in the 6.1 patch? It could be anything. It could be the rest of the Asphodelos raid. And I was like, no. For the last 6 years, since Heaven's Ward, the patch cycle's always been base game and then 8-man raids. 6.1 is 24 man. 6.2 or X.2 is 8-man. Point 0.3 is 24. Point 4 is 8-man, and point 5 is 24. That's never
it's
changed.
just
And
evident
we
that the
know.
person who's writing this article has no idea anything about the game.
Well, like, yeah, like, not at all, right? Like, I mean, I could Google search right now what's coming in 6.1, and I bet if I Google right now, if I Google Final Fantasy 14 6.1, I bet I will find something talking about the 24-man raid coming from Final Fantasy 14. It'll be like their own thing talking about it. Um, yeah, like right here, the second one down, like they have the um 6.1 will contain the Alliance raid, the first part of the Myths of the Realm story and raid series. The only thing we don't have is the name of the raid, but we know what it is. It's the 24-man raid, and it's the myths of the realm, like the 12 gods or whatever from like the
Mm,
your birth alignment thing. Like we know what it is already, and we know it's coming in that. Like they told us. Remember, they told us on one of their fan letters, or they told us when they made their announcements about it.
and then they alluded to it in the game at the end. And I won't go
Oh
into any
yeah,
more
but then yeah,
discussion
yeah,
about that because spoilers, but they talked about it at the end of the
sure.
game.
But like they've like, and even if you didn't, even if you couldn't put that together, like if you watch the fan letters, I mean, me and you sat here and I think we live streamed the last one that we saw where they went panel by panel with like slideshows and they said straight up they had a picture and it was like Myth of the Realms, the new 24-man alliance raids coming in six,
Yeah,
odd numbered patches, and we were like, yeah, there you go, odd numbered patches, point 1, point 3, point 5. We know this already, and they're like, man, maybe we'll see the Asphodelos raid come in 6.1, and it was like, where have you been for like if you haven't played this game that's fine, then just be like I don't know, but don't act like we don't know what's coming. We know. It's the
right.
same way it wasn't Stormblood, the same way it wasn't Shadowbringers, the same way it wasn't Heaven's
It's
Ward.
a formula that
Like
people are depending
yeah,
on now because they're expecting X, Y, and Z. They're planning around things now.
it's just
It's
insane to
just
watch. Like I think, and that's the side effect of things like Final Fantasy getting so popular,
mhm.
is you start to get like the bite-ons where people don't really know what they're doing or talking about. Like
Right.
you know, it gets so popular that a dude at Game Informer gets handed like a note from his boss that says, "Make sure you write something about FF14," and then
Yeah.
he just goes, "Okay," and he writes an article about like what's in the 6.1 patch, and it's like, okay,
It's just a bunch of jabroni
Google next
journalism,
time,
man.
please.
That's all it is.
And I feel
So,
bad because I don't see this stuff happen often, but when it does happen, it's like extremely dumb. It's like one time a month, but it's so bad when it happens,
right. And like
And it
they
sucks
didn't even
because
like say anything. That's the thing. Like even like Game Informer, they didn't reply or anything. They just rolled with it. The post is still up, and they still look like idiots.
yeah, absolutely.
I just
It's and that's what drives me
who
nuts
was
about
this
that whole
article
thing is like,
for?
yeah, like I don't know, and that's what's killing me is like I get maybe like I guess you have to write your articles towards like I don't know what you call them. I guess like normies, like people who don't play games or people who don't play those games or whatever.
Right.
But like I feel like it's your company. It's one thing if like CNN or Bloomberg or Forbes or somebody just writes an article about a video game and they have to like lay groundwork because non-gamers are reading. But
Mm-hmm.
really, Game Informer, who do you think reads Game Informer? Do you think a bunch of non-gamers follow Game Informer
Right.
for game news that they don't play? Like, know your market, know your audience at least. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I just like some of it just seems like it's just blatant ignorance, but like some of it kind of just like it almost feels like they're just feeding clickbait to like X Bros out there or something like that. Like just Xbox fanboys that are already toxic and dumb as shit on Twitter. It
I hate to
seems
say
like.
it, but it is feasible. That does, like, no matter what kind, you could put out an article one way or the other, and you're going to get people
Yeah,
talking. So I guess if you're looking for engagement or something, it's feasible. Not a good thing, but feasible.
not a good thing at all.
But
Here's a
yeah, and
fun
that
one.
sucks too, because there's always been this sort of, for the last decade, there's been like an underpinning of like games journalism being problems, and it's usually dumb shit. Like a games journalist couldn't beat Cuphead or something, or a games journalist will be like, maybe games should have an easy mode, and people storm in to be like, fuck you. But like every once in a while, something really dumb like this happens, and it's just one more thing that they can point to and be like, look how bad games journalism is, and you're like, yeah, it sucks once in a while, I get it, you know. So
Hmm.
it sucks. They're not doing us any favors by making themselves look dumb once in a while.
Right? No, I totally get it. So here's one that was real funny. This was posted. This is from 2020. I'm sorry, 2018. This is Devolver Digital's
Evolver,
E3 presentation about
love it.
their coins. Let's take a look at this.
I am thrilled to introduce you to our newest
I hope you can hear
product,
the audio, but I don't know if you can.
Loot Box
No, but
Coin.
I just heard it today.
Loot Box Coin is the world's first
This was yeah. So
cryptocurrency
those of you
that
listening
is
along,
so
this was
fucking
I don't
secure,
remember
not
her
even the
name. She's
owners
in
know
every
its
Devolver
actual
presentation.
value.
Um,
Totally unregulated
and she was doing an
absent of
onstage
all
bit about
civil,
Loot Box Coin,
governmental,
which was like,
international,
and this was
personal,
2018, so
or
this was like, I
institutional
think the only thing on the
liability.
market really at
Loot
the time
Box
was like
Coin
Bitcoin.
aims to
Yeah.
Everything else
become
was kind of
the
just not there.
global standard
And
in
they made a
meaningless
joke
wealth
about
acquisition
buying
and
loot box
questionable
coins that were
financial
like super
stability.
secure and nobody
I
even knew
am
what they were worth, and that
thrilled to
basically
introduce
like
you
was
to
what like
our
all the
newest
NFTs became, right?
product,
Right.
Like, oh, it's insane.
Loot
Oh
Box
man, what a
Loot
wild trip! I
Box
remember that.
Coin. The same. This is coming up the same week that Atari announced their
Loot Box
Loot
Coin
Box
is
NFT.
the world's first
Yep.
Watch it again.
cryptocurrency that
Absolutely
is so
insane.
fucking secure, not even the owners know its actual value. Totally unregulated and absent of
So
all
fucking
civil,
secure, the value is
governmental,
unknown.
international,
Totally
personal, or
unregulated. Yeah, that's
institutional
always a good.
liability.
You
Loot
always want
Box
that.
Coin aims to become
No
the
liabilities, go nuts.
global
Oh, I love it.
standard in
Amazing.
meaningless wealth acquisition and questionable financial stability.
2018, bro. Oh man, you love to see it, dude. I don't know, man. It's weird to constantly see what was satire, and this is the first time I've seen something like this,
Yeah.
especially in the political spectrum. Just stuff that's was satire 4 years ago is now just it's the new norm. It's the new reality, and here we are.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Jesus Christ. All right, so let's get to some less depressing stuff. We
Yeah.
covered this game and I'm gonna try and like find some more like positive articles next week because it's like it just seems like we dwell on shit, and it's like I don't try to. It's just that's what's in gaming news, and this week was a particularly slow week coming off the back of the Xbox Activision acquisition.
hmm
So I'll endeavor next week to find some more positive stuff. So this week, or this day in gaming history for January 30th, 37 years ago, Ice Climbers was released in Japan on the NES.
Oh wow. Huh.
31.
Game's older than I am.
Yeah. Well, not me, but oh shit. So, hold on. God damn. Why did
That
I
is the
admit
line
that?
between us.
Yep. Ice Climbers is the line. 31 years ago, Paperboy, the classic Paperboy, was released in Japan.
That's cool.
Here's another interesting one that kind of stuck out for me. 21 years ago, this game is old enough to drink. Oni, Bungie title Oni, released on the Mac, Windows, and PS2.
Oh wow.
If you've played Halo 3, then you've heard the Oni project mentioned. Bungie loves to cross their titles over and put mentions of like old titles in their games and stuff. Even
Oh yeah.
in Destiny, Cade brought up like Pathways to Darkness and kind of like I don't want to call it a dog whistle, but for the lack of better words, that was like if you know Bungie games and you've been there from the beginning, you know what Pathways to Darkness is.
Well, yeah, like all throughout Halo, I think ONI was like the Office of Naval Intelligence, and it was like their main thing that Spartans operated out of,
Mm-hmm.
and they just put it kind of like all over the place.
Yeah.
There was one for Halo ODST. ODST's like shock drop troopers showed up in like one of the other shooting games that you might know. I forget the name of.
Hmm. That one I'm
The
not aware of.
ODST had like a poster in one of their other games or something.
Oh, they had the Destiny poster in ODST.
Oh no, that's what it was. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The Destiny poster was in ODST. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was like, I
The
remember something like that.
Guilty Spark image, that little thing, that's the Marathon logo from the Marathon games.
Yep.
They love crossovers, man. They love cryptic shit. It's
They love seven.
they
They
love
everything is like
seven.
seventh column, all sevens.
Yeah,
Like
they love the
yeah.
seventh column. That goes back to, I think, before Marathon. But I know it was mentioned in Marathon. Great game series, by the
Hmm.
way. So yeah, that's
I've
pretty much.
never played them, but
Go
I've
ahead.
heard that.
Yeah, I mean they're good.
I've never played them myself, but I've heard that.
They're good, but they're a product of their time. I would say they're probably like maybe graphically, gameplay wise, a step above Halo, Doom. Um, they did have a little bit more like depth as far as like the texture maps was they were a little bit nicer and all that jazz. But yeah, I mean they're pretty
Maybe.
good. I would probably say if you wanted to know the storyline, go and read them. Read like synopsises of them. That's probably like the best place I would go to. That's a lot of reading in the game, which classic Destiny hallmark or Bungie hallmark. So
Alternative solution to this.
you gonna cut a pen?
Maybe. No, no, no. Maybe here's what we do. You take the marathon games, you go on stream, and
Oh,
you marathon them.
well. On that note, we're gonna. Jesus Christ. They're actually they get hard. They get really hard. I don't know if I can even beat them to this day, or beat them now today.
Hmm.
I mean,
Right.
yeah, they get a little weird and a little hard, um, but they are good. If you have a chance, I know you can get them on Xbox Live, at least Durandal. That was Marathon 2, but
Hmm.
the whole narrative of like rampant AI, which is a constant theme with Bungie games,
Oh yeah.
they outplayed it really well. They did a really good job writing that game. Highly recommend it. But I think that's gonna be it for tonight. You want to go play some games, dude? All right, so we'll wrap up here. Social media, of course, Game Dude Retro on Twitter and Instagram, and Retro Game Dude on Twitch and TikTok. Go check out my latest TikTok; it's pretty funny.
Yeah, definitely.
Schedule
Keep the sound
wise,
on.
of course, SuperScope podcast Monday to Saturday. We will have a Tuesday and a Wednesday stream, and we'll be back for our Jackbox community stream on Saturday night, 9 p.m. every night. All right, guys. Thanks again for tuning in, and we will be back next Sunday for more SuperScope podcasts. Thanks again.